And welcome to the Snap Grand Prix. For those who do not know, my name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming, and we have a special treat for you today. First and foremost, before I say anything further, let me introduce my co-host. For the moment, more details to come on that. Parry Manilow, hello, good sir. Welcome on in. How you doing today? You are muted, my friend. That's how good you are. Let's try that again. Take two and Parry.
Hello,
good sir.
everybody. How we doing? I was pushed to talk, but I'm good. I'm here. I am happy to be a part of this wonderful tournament. Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to some hype Marble Snap matches.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to have some really good matchups to take a look at as we're now in the top 16 for this inaugural event, the Snap Grand Prix, presented in conjunction together with Pursuit Gaming as well as the Snap Judgements League. So let's go ahead and just give a little bit of a quick introduction. I'm going to ask you, my friend, go ahead and let the people know a little bit about, what Pursuit Gaming is and what your involvement on the team is as well.
Absolutely. So Pursuit Gaming is a wonderful group of people headed up by Louis Alphonsus, Eric, Synergy God, and Johnny B. Good. They are focused on the more competitive side of Marble Snap, trying to bring together some tournaments. They also have another tournament going on right now, the Pursuit Gaming Origins Tournament. We are looking to just try and grow the grassroots competitive Marble Snap scene, since there isn't much of a push from Second Dinner to do that themselves, because people love some hype. They love some competitive top-tier levels of gameplay, and that's what we're here to showcase today with the Snap Grand Prix. Big shout-outs to Zal Snap, one of the homies, one of the PG homies as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting on with this tournament here.
Absolutely, and I'm honored to have been invited to be a part of this collaboration as well, to present the top 16 all the way through the finals. So just to give her a friendly reminder to our viewers and listeners who have never seen a live broadcast of this nature, for competitive purposes specifically, to keep the integrity of this competition, we on this broadcast, as you can see just slightly above Parry's head over there, we are on a 5-minute delay. That means the chat below me as well is on a 5-minute delay, and all of you who are watching are 5 minutes into the future in comparison to us, which are in a way 5 minutes in the past on your screen. So that helps to keep everything nice in line, so bear with us on that as we go ahead and get ready for round number 1 that we will be presenting here, and the top 16 will be showcasing Johnson, who has already made the top cut, a very famous name, especially here in the competitive scene. You may have seen or heard here on this channel the Johnson Cup. That is the Johnson we are referring to. He is also an incredibly competitive player, and we're going to be able to see that right here, right now, as Johnson is getting matched up to go into the top 16. Now, who are they facing? They are facing a very a fun name, I must say. I'm a fan of the opponent's name. It is Wee Wee, which is just
Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil that one there.
No. We must tell all the people all the things, just like how we're going to be letting you know exactly what these players are also playing. But we're going to be looking from Johnson's point of view, so I'm only going to reveal what Johnson is playing at the moment. This is a Mockingbird junk deck. You're going to see it from his point of view. Let's take a look as they head into round number 1.
Here we go.
Have fun. This is the Snap Grand Prix top 16 battle of the day. I hope you have been studied up on your international readings, because it's going to be a fun one to say. Here we go. Orcus Forge is our first location as we start with an opening hand of Carnage, Lady Deathstrike, and White Widow. What do you think of the new White Widow that has come to the game?
Well, if you're talking about that beautiful art germ variant in particular, I think she is looking fantastic. But I have actually been enjoying the card a lot myself. She feels very, very strong. Usually a 2/6 at worst. She is taking up space on your opponent's board, which is very hard to deal with. So I've been thinking she's a great addition to the meta, especially these junk builds with the Sentry Annihilus package.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a, depending on how you look on it, a toxic, annoying card, but simultaneously she's a really good, fun, competitive card. So she's one that I know a lot of people were eyeing heading on into this specific month. that this is where I want to use my spotlights, and we already see in our first match of the day that, look, it can be a very good card. These Clog archetypes, which are going to have a little bit of a struggle up against this Cosmo, as Wee brings in Cosmo with that Sentinel and Nebula. Leaning, I would, if I had to guess on that trio, maybe this is leaning towards a Loki deck, as we get a snap for the very first time. I'm a little...
Is that Johnson who snapped there?
I'm not sure. We were so caught up in White Widow. I'm not sure who exactly got the snap out. But White Widow is one of these cards with this Clog archetype that is slowly, completely taken over the meta. I would not be surprised as we got into these later rounds to see more and more and more of this, as we see a very disciplined retreat. There is an escape. We will continue to move on and look at different points of view on these cubes. Let's take a look at the full board right here. We're going to expand out the board. Smart Fella, also known on the one end, and then on the far end, we also have Johnson, who took off his first cube of the day.
So Johnson up 1 cube to 0, or Johnson's down 1 cube?
Johnson retreated on the last one. It is 10-9 in favor of Wee as we go from Sacred Timeline to the Raft with a hood on the board to bounce. Now, I like this combination of Annie Bounce. This was an old archetype that's kind of really just started to come back into the magical world of Marvel Snap due to the resurgence of not just Clog in general, but I also think Angela has a little bit of a piece to this as well. I'm curious to see how both of these participants navigate this, because we don't know much yet fully about Wee's deck except that Cosmo, which can be detrimental for a Clog deck, but simultaneously can really help out that Sentry. We've lost you, good sir. You have gone muted on your push to text, but as we see Maximus come on down, no Cosmo stopping that one this time, but interesting to see their own Cosmo as we get Strange Academy on the right.
I'm just going to turn off the push to text, keep my mic open here, and I'll be disciplined as to not talk over you. So I was going to say the Mobius isn't really getting much value for him in this matchup. If you would take a look at the list that Wee's running, no cost reduction on Wee's side. So the Mobius is a bit of a dead card here for Johnson. I wonder if he's going to adjust playing the Mobius. I guess it will work against the Raft, though, so there is that.
Yeah, the Raft, that absolutely stellar idea. Go ahead and load up big on the 10, try to keep it up on 16. That looks to be pretty promising unless there's a specialty ongoing that we don't know of quite yet. But I'm going to leave... We can see what they are playing, but we can't see necessarily all of it. As we get a full double Clog, now there's a lot of unknown. As a Gladiator and a Nebula drop on down, that's immediately giving full advantage then over to Wee once again, as the hood potentially could be removed from that location.
Correct. So the Annihilus will get the hood out of there. There will be an extra spot for Johnson to play in that lane and potentially take over. He's going to need to commit something sizable there because the Nebula will tick up a little bit in power over these next couple turns. I'm curious as to what Wee got from the Raft. The Dr. Doom's a pretty good pull there from Johnson. Looks like he's opting to go for it early, potentially. Only getting one of those Doom bots.
They could clog up the left that way, because sending over the Annihilus would be pretty stellar and safe at the moment, too. I like that. You could refill it on that last turn, going from 20, now shooting up to 22, showing threat that I have the ability to go over in that lane. As the top deck of Carnage, not necessarily the strongest card right now at this moment, but what would you do on this read first?
So here I'm thinking the Dr. Doom, to get the Doombot mid is the way to go. The Doombot will win mid because the Nebula will only tick up to 2 more power, so 22. The Doombot would secure mid. Obviously, you have to be a bit worried about the free card. Well, you don't have to be worried about the free card, excuse me, because the Mobius will get rid of that cost reduction there. So Wee's free card would be a full cost 6-drop. So I don't think Johnson has to worry about that too much. Not a whole lot of power he can put up here otherwise, though. The Doom is his best bet for trying to cover all of his bases, but I would be worried about some big Papa card coming down and just winning that other lane.
Yeah, that would definitely be... that would definitely hurt, but I'm curious to see the ordering here on the... As we look at like 3 or 4 different revelations on how they're looking to play out, almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6 cards now on this final turn. It's a nice big rain, and it's enough to go ahead and make
retreat.
Wee back out, especially with the unknown of the Raft. knowing you have to win those 2 lanes, knowing that there's going to be some clog potentially, this is pretty damn stellar. As we go on in, it is now 9-9 heading into the next turn as we open up with a hub, giving a Patriot, which me personally, I love me a good Hub Patriot deck. It was one of the things that, Clog Patriot deck, one of the things that I absolutely loved building on the Mockingbird release. So I throw this question to you. How influential do you think the Mockingbird in this deck is going to actually end up being?
Well, he doesn't have the counter of the Mobius to stop the Mockingbird from being discounted, so I feel like those 9 stats are pretty damn strong in this particular matchup here. You want to try and get... One of the things that Junk struggles with sometimes outside of the Sentry is just those big power lanes. And he's going to need something to compete with Wee Wee's Gladiator as well. So I think Mockingbird is a good answer to that. I'm also just trying to pull up the full list on my other screen here, so forgive me.
Yeah, no. I don't want to spoil too many secrets for our viewers of looking at both points of view necessarily right now, but we do have another retreat. Incredibly disciplined competitors is what we're already starting to see. This is one of the things that we regularly preach here, is that one of the things that you need to really be good at, really be strong at in this game, is knowing when to retreat. And a lot of people will go, but it's only 1 more cube. But it's only 1 more possible, all right, the chance on this maybe because this is tough. This is the toughest thing in these upper competitive levels. Having that discipline of understanding, yes, it's only 1, but I also only have 10. As we get a Nebula to drop, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, having it drop into the brand new location, Thunderbolt Tower. How did you feel about this as the featured location?
Oh, that was a rough day. I played a lot of Conquest that day, Guest.
Yes.
I was not a big fan of that hot location. I don't think many people were, but that is the nature of hot locations. They at least try and shape the meta temporarily. They have their uses, but not a big fan of that particular location being the hot one. So we do have the Nebula here on that location. It potentially would deter Johnson from playing on that location and letting the Nebula pump up a little bit. But there is the snap from Wee Wee and a quick retreat from Johnson. Again, you are going to see a lot of snapping and retreating based on locations in these matches.
Yeah, and Johnson is known for being incredibly reserved and incredibly disciplined. It is one of the things that I think keeps him up at the top, and as we start to see, again, a reemergence of Orcus Forge once again for more Sentinels to drop in. We still don't necessarily have the best full view of exactly what Wee Wee has decided to bring into this match. So I think Johnson, even though he does have Revelation to the deck, I think he's leaning pretty heavily into that. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil the fun. The more I think about it, the more I want to, as they play out the Nico over on the right-hand side. This is the deck. We're overlaying it here real fast that Wee Wee is running. It is Hood, Nebula, Nico, Jeff, Maximus, Cosmo, Red Guardian, Gladiator, Sentry, Ronin, Annihilus, and Eliath. And the Ronin piece in particular is the one that interests me the most, because we very heavily saw Ronin decks forcing that Maximus and Master Mold duo, and now it seems like the clog aspect of keeping your hand full is leaning more towards, you're just going to run out of space on the board because I'm going to send you everything, so you're going to de facto end up holding onto a much larger hand.
Absolutely. You are not going to be able to play the cards you want. Even if you have the space on the board, do you really want to commit those cards knowing your opponent will know exactly what they need to beat you in those lanes? It's a different type of clog archetype, and it's pretty unique. I love how wide open this meta is right now, where you're seeing a bunch of different decks come in and try and take these top spots. We had a Nico location change there from Dream Dimension into White Hot Room, so all of a sudden some urgency on filling that location up. And that final location, the monsters coming down on the board. I like
seeing this aggressive snap too, man. I really do. I like seeing the aggressive snap of, listen, I already have 2 cards into this lane. I'm going to be able to flip on over. You've been limited down to only 1. Both of them are rocking decks that are also very heavily reliant on having that potential synergy of Sentry sending over the Void. This is a big piece right here.
Both decks running Annihilus as well, so priority always a factor when you are both playing Annihilus mirrors. We also have a very cheap Mockingbird right now. I'm curious to see if Johnson will use this to try and go for White Hot Room, but it looks like he might be contemplating his exit here.
And he does. He goes for the retreat now, says, I don't have enough to keep up with it, even though there's a monster down there, even though we've got the Mysterios down there. My Mockingbird's sitting at only 2. I could fire up a little bit, but not reliant enough to say that I'm going to guarantee 2 locations, even if I fill up the White Hot Room on this very next turn. As we go to White Palace, and both players are exchanging their top cards. Annihilus is sent over to Wee, and the first revelation of Ronin now makes an appearance, but in Johnson's hand, because this is an open deck list experience. This is, both competitors only got access to the deck lists, I want to say it was about a half hour or an hour at most, before this round. So
yes,
they had no time to practice necessarily of, you know, going up with someone else who's facing this deck to get ready for round number 1. This is a pretty extensive live as you see it moment for our 2 competitors, as now Crown Palace drops into the mid.
Crown Palace here, that is the location that will give a +4 to adjacent locations as long as you are winning it. So Wee winning here because he has 0 power compared to Johnson's -3. And now Wee also knows that Johnson has the Annihilus in hand. So that is going to play a big role in, again, trying to manage that priority. We are both locked in for 2 cubes here as well, because this is the high stakes round. Johnson had to retreat and lose those 2 cubes last round as well, because if he didn't, he would have been locked in for 4, which I don't think any of these players are going to make it to a 4-cube game at this point in the tournament.
I would be pleasantly surprised. They're exciting and fun to watch for us here, you know, casting these events, but at the same time, in the super high competitive, more than 2 cubes at a time is a lot less common. We do have every now and then we will see an 8-cuber randomly in one of the earlier rounds as someone, you know, high rolls super insanely well, but here in the top 16, I expect some much tighter competitive play. And let's take a look at what Johnson's doing here, as he's using Crown Palace to his advantage to potentially keep that priority by still playing underneath the Crown Palace, but still look to send over second using that Annihilus. And I think both of them are trying to figure out that balance of what's too much, what's too little. And right now, Johnson sitting at that -1 is in the advantage here, who may have to switch pretty aggressively depending on if we get a draw of a hood on the other side.
That's right, and we have the Red Guardian come down and lower the hood to that -5. An interesting play here. The Nico turns the demon, or I'm sorry, the Red Guardian into the demon. Looks like Wee-Wee's really fighting for priority here, and we are indeed now locked into a 4-cube game, guys. So immediately what I said gone right out the window.
Yeah.
Classic Parry fashion. We are now locked in for 4. This is going to be an exciting one here.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Wee decides to play this one out as we go into at least a 4-cube, because now priority not only has difference where potentially Johnson may actually need to use that Annihilus early, swing the priority back over fast, so that way they can clear the hood faster, as they both drop a sentry, and now it's a battle. The battle of the century, literally at this point. And now it looks like they're looking to eat the voids and fire second, because still the priority is over on the other side. Oh, this is tough. Tough.
Yeah, this is a really,
oh man,
really tough decision here, because it is now just the mind game of who is going to play that Annihilus first. And are there any other ways of dealing with it? Because as you see in Johnson's hand here, he does have that beast. So being able to potentially pick up those voids for a huge power swing on the right lane could be a bit of a cheeky line here. But it looks like Wee drops the Ronin on the left, and Johnson drops his Ronin on the mid. The priority is still in Wee's favor as we go into this final turn here, and the top deck of the Lady Deathstrike.
Oh, now, all right.
Yeah.
Think of it from both points of view. Wee
They
sitting
both
there.
have Annihilus as well, due to the White Palace earlier.
Yeah, they both have Annihilus in their hand. There's also a demon currently sitting in Johnson's hand, but there is no demon sitting in Wee's hand. So it's 5
Correct.
plus what? But even on that potential swing, this could be one of those situations where smart fella, who's also known as Wee, is potentially looking at trying to figure out a different combination of win of losing Crown Palace, but winning the two sides. via those bounce mechanics, but without that priority, there's a very likely chance that you're being sent over that void.
Minus
At least
20
one
on
void.
both. Yes, at least one. More likely 20 on both sides, unless he opts to go a completely different line, abandoning the Annihilus play altogether, and maybe just trying to win left and mid.
Yeah, they do not have a destroy card in that aspect. So, like we see over on Johnson's side, who's rocking a Beast to bounce back up, as well as that Lady Deathstrike. So that's what it looks like he's trying to figure out, is where does my priority need to end up being? Because also remember, every card that Wee drops, it's going to end up affecting that Ronin. Here comes the Maximus filling up for 2. There goes the Gladiator trying to pull out an extra card. It's not going to be enough. Demon drops on down to the left-hand side for 6, and the Annihilus fires over, destroying the hood into the mid, and the second hood on the side. The point tally is over. It doesn't matter. And just like that, Johnson is taken down for a huge 6-cuber with the major upset up against the very smart fellow Wee.
That is one brilliant fella there, Wee. Wow, what a play. The Nebula, the Maximus, the Gladiator, 2 big stat 6 in Maximus and Gladiator coming down, securing those lanes over the Annihilus and the Demon left, and of course blocking the hood from coming over on the middle lane there, giving up the right side, as said earlier. Wow, 6 cubes. After we said we would not see any crazy big cube matches, we get a massive upset in the very first round of top 16. Incredible, guest.
Absolutely surprising. Johnson, an incredibly gifted and disciplined player, looked at every possible scenario here, and I think the thing that they were just backfiring and hoping not for was exactly what you saw in the mid, which was that Maximus, which was a huge selling point. But I love how both of them were specifically trying to compete over in the left into the Grand Palace. That kind of feeds into what we were thinking about, what I thought was going to happen for Wee, which was, well, win one, but win the, lose one, but win the outsides. And it looks like both players went for that exact same strategy. And in turn, because of the shifting of Crown Palace, it did stay in favor of the smart fella. Very difficult moment, very difficult match to watch, as Johnson, unfortunately, has been, well, booted from the tournament. The top 16 is down, but that's okay. Why? Because we're going to continue watching some action here. We're going to go try and take a look and see if we can catch into another battle that's currently going on as we speak. It is Gatos versus the Dr. Joint. So we're going to try to set that on up here real fast, so that way we can bring them into the battle and the conversation too. So let's see what happens here as we hit OK and add them on in. Beautiful. 1, 2, and 3. So that way we can get the full scope of everything that's been going on here in this battle. And right now, Dr. Joint sitting at 5 cubes, as well as Gatos, who is sitting in at 5 cubes as well at this current moment in the battle. We're catching this one live, so that way you, our viewers, still have a good experience to work with. We don't want you to give up quite yet. No. We have more content for you before we finish this round of 16. I greatly appreciate you hanging out with us here as we move into a brand new battle.
Absolutely. There are plenty more hype battles to be had here, and we are looking forward to especially some other guest commentators coming on. I will not be casting with guests the entire time. I don't want to hog the whole thing here, but we are looking for some, we are getting some other wonderful casters in here, some names you guys might know, so stay tuned for that as well. We do get a snap here from, I'm sorry, I couldn't see this player's name on the left here. Who do we have here on the left? I'm trying to see who we got here.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best to make sure that we also get the full deck lists of what we're talking about for this second battle for the Gatos, to see if we can get them to showcase those deck lists as fast as possible. Here we go. Gatos, I'm going to put that up on the screen, what they are running to. It looks like we have a straight-up classic Loki build. The straight-up classic Loki build, first and foremost for Gatos, Kitty Pryde, Quinjet, Snowguard, Angela, Cable, Jeff. You know the deck at this point as action drops, and we are loaded with a bunch of fun, interesting plays because Valkyrie, one of the most disrespected and under-respected cards in Marvel Snap, makes its appearance.
Just wins games, and when you are not expecting a Valkyrie, that is when she is at her strongest. You just never ever consider her, especially in decks where she is not typically found. Outside of like C3, I don't think I would ever anticipate a Valkyrie coming down in any scenario. And
looking at the deck list we see on the opposite end with Typhoid Mary on the board, Ghost, Sarah. The Typhoid Mary in particular I'm looking at, and now Man-Thing. Is this Bradsifer's deck?
It might be. I'm seeing here we got Hazmat, US Agent, Lizard, Red Guardian, Luke Cage, Baron Zemo, Ghost, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, Man-Thing, Typhoid Mary, and Sarah. So a bit of a toxic Sarah list here. Rocking the newly buffed US Agent as well. How do you feel about the US Agent buff, Guest?
I am a huge fan of it. I absolutely love this new US Agent buff. It is an incredibly strong card. It was a good card, but with a little bit of an adjustment. But now people are really looking at it for the very first time, and they're saying, hey, this is pretty good, especially as a turn 6 play.
Oh, yeah.
Given all of the craziness that's out there with Living Tribunal, I'm a really big fan of having this card in deck lists right now. But we open up with Necrotia and Wild Palace as Dr. Joint is restricted down to their final cube right now, trying to make a 2-game comeback. It is 4-1, currently waiting as we get our first card drop of a Kitty Pryde bounce to come on back for the second time, favoring Gatos.
And this is effectively a 2-1. I know that Gatos does have 4 cubes here, but they should be locked in to 2 the remaining matches in this set here. So Dr. Joint's going to need 2 wins in order to pull this out over Gatos. Looks like Gatos is dropping that turn 3 Hope Summers, one of the best plays in the game. The Mobius comes down, preventing any sort of Quinjet shenanigans or Loki discounts, but Hope Summers might be able to make up some of that extra energy that would be lost from that Mobius reducing or getting rid of that cost reduction ability.
Yeah, Quinjet right now is essentially just going to be a giant, stat stick of 1-2 with this regular Mobius coming out there. Yeah, it's giant. It's a 1-2. It's 2-1 on the power to cost. It's great.
As we've seen in the previous game, though, every point does matter. So that Quinjet might wind up coming in handy at some point if they choose to play it. It looks like they might counter with a Mobius of their own and the Kitty Pryde, and that's exactly what we do. So 2 extra energy here for Gatos going into this next turn, and the Red Guardian coming down, killing the Kitty.
Oh, the Kitty has been turned into roadkill in Monster Metropolis, run on over by Mike Wazowski in his giant vehicle as we sit with a Jeff, the baby land shark, a Sarah, and friends trying to debate how we're going to go into this next turn. Red Guardian, Red Guardian is one of the most interesting cards to drop because it's respected but disrespected simultaneously, where you heard it from the creator community, you hear it amongst the Marvel Snap community, whether it's the global Discord or Reddit. It's the best card you don't need to have, is the best way I can describe Red Guardian, as we see Jeff given extra power via the Hope Summers and a Cable flip over into the White Palace, which is going to draw out the Enchantress over back into their hand again with an Agent Coulson, adding 2 more of Nick Fury and Legion when Baron Zemo is asking you to get joined in with an Angela in the mid and a Lizard who's going to be reduced down to only 1 power in the right. Lots to choose from in this turn.
There is so much going on here. I saw that Legion come in from the Agent Coulson, and my mind was immediately thinking, you got to try and play that big boy if you can. But it doesn't look like necessarily Gatos is going to go that route, although he's hovering over it there. He definitely sees the appeal. The Necrotia could be cheeky. I think you might have to watch out for a Luke Cage on the other side, potentially. I don't remember. I do believe, yes, Dr. Joint was indeed running Luke Cage. That Lizard might actually not be 1. It could very well wind up being 5 if Dr. Joint decides to drop that Luke Cage here. But what would you do on this turn here, Guest, if you were Gatos?
Man, I mean, If I'm sitting there as Gatos right now, to be completely honest, I have no idea.
It looks like he might use that Legion to try and get...
It is a tough call.
Again.
Oh, man. As we sit on here trying to figure out production on the back end simultaneously, and thank you so much for your patience, everyone, as we get all of the right information out to you with this tournament. It looks like it's just going to be a power stick, but if looking at second assessment, potentially that Legion into Monster Metropolis would have been really fun for the extra power for all three, knowing that Legion would have got it. Instead, we're going to end up with a couple of card draws via White Palace bringing a Sarah and then sending back over a Sarah and then probably doing it again. All the Sarahs? It's all of the Sarahs. You think you saw one? No, Sarah again.
That is a whole lot of Sarahs here. And I was assuming that was the final turn, but I'm guessing we might have one more turn here? Or was that the final turn?
That, as you see via the revelations of the U.S. agent over into the middle lane to swing it back over, that is your final turn, taking off 2 more cubes off Gatos. Ladies and gentlemen, they have brought it down to the wire. It is 2-1 going into the final round for Gatos and Dr. Joint. Here they go. Who do you have? Let us know in the chat.
We probably won't be able to see those answers until the match is over, but I would like you guys to throw those suggestions in chat. Who do you think is going to win this one here? Another Thunderbolts tower coming in. We saw that in the previous game. Could be a bit problematic. We do have some location control, I think, with the Snow Guard, at least potentially able to turn that off on turn 5. So we'll see if that makes an appearance. But a very good looking curve here for Gatos, although we might have to use that Hawk a little bit early now that the TVA is on the board.
Oh boy.
This is going to make the mind games very interesting because Dr. Joint now knows that the Hawk is in hand. So this game could wind up ending on turn 4, or that cheeky Hawk coming down on turn 4 could extend the game.
It's really going to depend really going to depend on what this third location is, in my opinion. As Hazmat takes off 2 power off of the board, swinging it over, and a Machine World is in number 3. Luke Cage in hand for Gatos does mean that if you're going to drop it, you have to drop it now, and then the Hawk next turn to end it. This could be what knocks out Dr. Joint if they decide to move forward.
If you drop the Hawk next turn, then the game's not going to be over yet. You're going to continue on until turn 5 and turn 6 here. So I wonder if you don't drop the Luke Cage now, you maybe set up your Elsa lane.
This is turn 3.
Right, this is turn 3. So if he plays the Hawk on turn 4, the TVA would be null and void. We would indeed go to turn 5.
Interesting call to figure out and throw some confusion to the opponent, especially now that there are so many cards loading into the Thunderbolts tower as Kitty Pryde ends up dropping down in favor of Dr. Joint back into their hand. And now you've got to make the call. Do I end it? Do I have enough?
Well, he is able to play the Luke Cage and the Bear on the final turn, which could be a decent swing. There's only been 2 points of damage dealt by the Hazmat so far. We also have to remember that Gatos, or Dr. Joint, has no idea that Gatos has this Luke Cage now, because the Cable stole the Luke Cage. You don't get to see what card Cable steals. So if I was Gatos, I would think you extend this game with the Hawk and you save that Luke Cage until the very end, because their deck is pretty much built on that toxic aspect.
Yeah.
So hiding that Luke Cage, using that information, being able to take advantage of the Thunderbolts tower, you can kind of load that lane up, expect to get hit with that affliction, and then just use a big old, well, here we go.
Ooh, he chooses not to hold it in secret, moves on, allows the game to extend by disabling the TVA, which is going to then later on allow Thunderbolts Tower to activate, and Luke Cage, who undoes what Red Guardian did best, remove that power. Now it's a big power swing potential, because now Thunderbolts Tower is going to lose 6 power for Dr. Joint, but lose nothing over for Gatos, and now you've got to really bank on maybe trying to top deck some fun stuff using the Loki, or you just go for straight extra power to work with. Man, this is a tough read right here.
I feel like the Loki's the smart play here, because you can get that US agent, you can get that man thing. Oh, and there it is.
Good.
That is the danger.
Enchantress.
and he did not pick up another Luke Cage from the Loki. So
what
a pretty devastating
swing.
decision there.
Oh man, what a swing. You have the advantage, you don't have the advantage, you look for finding the advantage. You had a 5 out of 12 chance of pulling it, and now you're really playing from behind. You're now looking for the power.
Cost reduction. He does still have some cost reduction here from the Loki. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that double cost reduction from the Quinjet because the Red Guardian snipe on the Quinjet does get rid of that cost reduction.
Yeah.
No Luke Cage, so it's going to get toxic up in here, folks. There's going to be some negative numbers on the board on both sides.
Potentially. We don't know, though, if Dr. Joint is also sitting on their own Luke Cage already.
We do know because
it was cabled. You're right.
it.
It was cabled. You're right. I'm thinking it was Loki. You're right.
So there are no... Now, the only thing is that Dr. Joint doesn't know necessarily if Gatos got another Luke Cage from the Loki. We see here that he doesn't, but Dr. Joint doesn't know that.
Correct.
So
Time's running out, trying to figure out the highest power swing, specifically with Machine World, looking at what's going to drop on down. The Baron Zemo would do another pull, but it's an unpredictable pull. It could be an Angela.
Angela wouldn't do much for him there on the Baron Zemo pull. But it looks like that's what he goes for.
Here we go. Flip it over. What does Baron Zemo pull? Pulls out. It's the Lizard for 5. Big hit. Man-Thing drops on down, reducing a whole bunch. And the U.S. agent tries to save the Machine World, but that Man-Thing from Dr. Joint has taken down the Gatos. They are now moving on over into the top 8. Very under-respected card, Man-Thing. Man, oh thing. Wow.
Wow, indeed. What an unexpected outcome to both of these games here. Crazy big swings on the final turn. Man-Thing putting up incredible power in that final lane, but it really was that Enchantress coming down to knock out the Luke Cage. I don't know if I would have gone the route of dropping the Luke Cage early. I guess if you did want to play the Loki, you kind of needed to get the Luke Cage out of your hand now, and then there was a good chance he could have pulled another Luke Cage, which would have made all the difference, but unfortunately, it didn't work out there for Gatos, and that is how that game ends.
Unfortunately, that is how that game ends, and we are slowly watching the top 16 get finalized over here on the back end for Pursuit Gaming. And let's also give a great shout out once again to the Snap Judgements League as well for helping to orchestrate this top deck, who has come on in as a huge partner to make all of the things line up nice and pretty and have an amazing experience for all of our participants, both yesterday and today. It has been just action after action after action. I ask you, good sir, out of the cards that we've already seen, just from the 4 decks we've seen played, who do you think is the most influential card in this current metagame in Marvel Snap?
Oh man, I feel like Luke Cage has so much value right now. I know he is far from his days of... I mean, Luke Cage has seen a lot of changes over the course of this game so far, and I think he's settled at a pretty good spot right now. That 3-cost universal effect that infects the entire board, same as Mobius, same as some of those other cards that I can't think of at the moment. But Luke Cage definitely having a major impact with the rise of cards like US Agent now getting that big buff to do -4 in all lanes. The White Widow, that will negate that. You're seeing more of these Toxic Surfer lists going around. Maybe not as popular as they once were, but still out there. So I think Luke Cage is really the card to have. And just dealing with other locations too, like Necrotia, Sewer System, like every little bit of power makes a huge difference in these high competitive Snap games. So getting that Luke Cage down, obviously. And if you have the counter, that, as we saw in the last game, Enchantress does make a world of difference.
100%. Mr. Parry, for those who have never been here on this stream before, we have a semi-tradition of just simply saying, who in the living hell are you? Because right now, a lot of the people who come over to the guest list and they watch these channels, we try to showcase as many different content creators as we can and help broadcast the broader scope of what Marvel Snap comes to be and comes to bring. So why don't you also tell the audience here what you bring to the Marvel Snap content creation community and where can they also find you?
Sure. So I'm Parry Manilow across the board. That is ParryManilow, just like the singer, but with a P instead of a B. I host Marvel Snap Bingo, that is kind of my claim to fame, every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Parry Manilow. It is an interactive game show where you, the chat, have a bingo board full of things that happen in your average game of Marvel Snap. If you get 5 in a row, you win. Typical bingo rules. I give prizes out to the winners. We do giveaways at the end of the stream and the end of the season for gold passes and season passes, respectively. It's a good time. Highly recommend it if you haven't tried it out before. So check that out tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, guest. It's been a pleasure.
No, I'm more than happy to have more and more of you, the Pursuit gamers, coming on down over and showcasing what the Snap Grand Prix is all about. I absolutely love that you're showcasing also a very different style of content with that bingo, getting people involved in a different way, really focusing on the live video aspect of super attentiveness and being there in your stream. And you can see from the reactions of those who are playing as well who's definitely a regular, because they know the drill also as well. Every time you pop into a bingo stream, you know clearly blah 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 has always been here, because they're on top of it the second you see, oh look, there's that fourth Loki, haha, bingo. Like, they just absolutely stellar. It's a great environment. You're an absolutely positive person for this community, and I thank you so much for being a part of this cast. Now, for our audience, we're going to be taking a quick short break here. We're going to be able to permit for some ads to come on down also as well. Try to not interfere with the gameplay. So stick around, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We greatly appreciate all the support here on the guest list. Once again, for those who do not know, my name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming. That is Parry Manilow, and we will see you all in just a few moments. Stick around. We will be right back.
Thanks, everyone.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We have had a small change of scenery, and we are moving on to the top 8, which means we are also rotating more and more of Pursuit Gaming here. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who do not know, the very stealthy fuzzy bear, the Ninja Panda. Welcome on in to the channel. Ninja Panda, how you doing today, good sir?
I am doing fantastic, guests. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
No, thank you so much for coming on board, and we're going to be able to take a look at a top 8 matchup as we move on. The first round has now been completed. We watched 2 knockouts, and I want to showcase exactly what that looks like over here as well. As I bring it up on the screen, you can see this is over on topdeck.gg, showcasing the top 16. So our winners that are moving on into the top 8 are Dr. Jolt, Ishan Jain, Mi Lee, Wee, Zyru, .go, Rianaldi, my apologies, Rianadi, Andy, and Kamiz. So we're probably going to be looking at Wee's point of view from his deck going into the top 8 as they go up, go up against My Lee. Now, have you had a moment at all to take a look at what My Lee is also running?
Yeah, let me just scroll and grab that real quick. So My Lee is running a pretty awesome deck, actually, with the Zemo Gladiator and the Shang. I'm really looking forward to see some gameplay. I'm going to be honest, I am a little bit over this mill meta that we are in right now, but I'm really excited to see it being played against somebody else other than me.
Yeah, this specifically is going to be interesting for me because of one card that they're running, and that's Quake. Quake, the constant surprise element that you never 100% can lean on, is going to be a wild card regularly in this battle, especially when you're mixing it in with the unpredictability of Snow Guard. That is quite cool. I am very happy about that. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be a very interesting deck to see matched up as we remember, excuse me, as I'm choking, as we remember that the grand deck here, this is what we are going to be watching from their point of view this time. This is that Ronin deck from Wee that we hopefully will see some interesting battle from. So we're gonna just make sure that we're set up, pop this out, get that stream ready and set to go. They are gonna be matching up once I give them the, hey, you're good to go, fire it away moment, which I think I'm going to do now. So for those who also do not know you, why don't you give an further introduction about you, Pursuit Gaming, your involvement, and the content that you create, good sir?
So I will just preface this. I am not a part of Pursuit Gaming yet. Synergy God, Lewis, I'm looking at you. But my name is Ninja Panda. I started streaming Marvel Snap about two months ago. I had never played a card game before this, and so this is the first time that I have been introduced to the card battling game. But I have loved every single bit of it. This community is one of the absolute greatest that I have ever been a part of, and it is going to be a fantastic time continuing on with the content.
Well, we are honored to have you here, and we're honored to see what you bring also to this brand new experience for many people who have never seen your content. It's what we try to do here on the guest list, is bring more content creators together, bring more events together as we get ready. And you can see here on the screen, they are getting matched up. They are sharing codes. Don't worry, they can't steal codes. We're on a 5-minute delay as a reminder to our audience, so they will not be able to snipe. And neither will our opponents, as we have a very unique Ronin deck moving forward again into now what is the quarterfinals here of the Snap Grand Prix. What are you hoping to see in the next several matches?
As we get further on into these tournaments, you really start to tell that the better players really start to set themselves apart from the rest of the groups. The decisions, I think we saw that a little bit earlier with Johnson and the disciplined retreating, even after snapping, to know whether or not if you actually have that hand, that if your opponent does snap on turn 3 or turn 4, are you really going to be able to compete and potentially win with what you're already looking at in your starting hand? I really appreciate the decision making that the players start to make as we get further on, because the pressure does start to build as you get into the later rounds, especially when it's being casted and people are watching. You want to make the best decision.
Of course. I mean, there's always that public pressure that we all put each other in on every now and then, but I'd like to think that we still try to promote here with Marvel Snap in general the whole atmosphere of, good game, good luck, have fun. That's what every matchup ends up DMing between each other. We're trying to have a good time here because, yes, there is a prize pool on the line. There is Primed Mind, who has come on through and helped to support this event with a $1,000 prize pool that these participants are all fighting for in unique ways. As we see the first 3 turns reveal up onto the battlefield, a small advantage over for my Lee at the moment, with a big giant 12, which gets shifted over to 10 in Hellfire Club.
This is a great start actually for my Lee right now. Really curious to see what the Sentry play is, especially with that Mindscape coming in. See if we're going to toss the Annihilus over on turn 5, or if they're going to try to hold it and see what happens going into turn 6.
Yeah. But we see it drop on down, and Jessica Jones makes her first appearance as Mindscape now. It looks like it's going to be a definite flip. I'm trying to think, as we see a Snap also drop on down for a big power swing.
Big swing, dropping -10 over there, and then adding
18 technically, because it's swinging to the other side. Yeah, that's crazy, absolute crazy amount of power. But you got to be a little cautious heading into Mindscape in particular, because you're gonna end up, if you're Wee Wee, also known as Smart Fella, up above. At the moment, you have a 12-10 lead in the middle. That will switch then also over, because Jessica Jones is going to add 4. So priority is going to be on a full swing over for Smart Fella, as they would potentially hand over Eliath. It's not good.
Right. So we see the retreat, which I think is probably the smarter thing, because you pass them that Eliath, and it's just, you get the card stats, but you still to 6-8 now. How do you feel about that change to Eliath, Guest?
I think the Eliath change did exactly what it needed to do, which was not kill the card, but scare everyone from using it, as Project Pegasus completely throws everybody off, showing, here, what do you got? Throw it all down now. And I would not be surprised to see both Ronin and Hood also drop on this turn for those exact reasons. I think the Goliath change, as we've seen with many changes that come to Marvel Snap, they're mainly meant to just deter people because they were touched, right? Look at what happened when they changed Venom forever ago from a 3-1 to a 3-3. It was to incentivize people to start playing Destroy by making it slightly better, but it was only 2 power. This was an entire rework differently of killing the card internally, as Baron Zemo's gonna draw out a Nebula to gain some time. Not a terrible pull, not the best pull, but also not a terrible pull. And Zemo's gonna have to keep an eye out of when Hood gets played and not regularly. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with a negative pull every time.
Right. Project Pegasus is always a fun location for me because it's always a decision. Like, do I just drop the biggest thing that I have on the board, or do I just play it smart and put stats across the way?
I think that Ronin in particular too is could have been a little safer, only because yes, they do play a Shang-Chi, but at the same time, you're probably dropping a bunch of cards on turn 1 too. So it's a give and take for the Ronin of, is it going to stay at 9 regularly or not, as we get an X-Mansion switch. So it's not going to kill any potential cards, because we've definitely seen that before. X-Mansion pops out something like a Deathlock or a Carnage and already ruins the game plans that are being established, as Red Guardian gets blocked with a Crimson Cosmos into the middle lane because it cannot be received there.
That is a huge Quake play, because we know the plan was, say, Red Guardian, the Nebula, because that's probably what any of us would have done in that situation. So that was a very smart Quake play. I'm curious to see what the next play is for turn. This is turn 3.
Yes.
Curious to see what turn 4 play is here. And the Guardian.
Yep, just knock down the power, take it down a little bit, as it's a Guardian for Guardian matchup. It's just 2 5-drops essentially dropping into Project Pegasus, as the X-Mansion flips over a Bucky Barnes and an Electro, which does not feel good, but sort of does at the same time. This is tough, y'all. This is tough. Do you survive with this, as we get the immediate snap from My Lee, trying to say that you can't win this 1 card at a time?
I don't know about that, because
and it's turn 4.
It is turn 4. You could play the Ronin out in one lane. You could play the Sentry in another lane, and then drop the Annihilus in a different lane. So you have a ton of options here. So you can only Shang once, unless you're me yesterday on stream and I got Shang twice in the same turn.
This is very plausible. It is very, very plausible that it becomes.
The surprise Loki play though. So now you have to potentially wonder,
do they have the ante?
Did they also pull your Annihilus? I wish we could see how many cards that they had in hand prior to.
Yeah, from my Lee's side, just trying to figure out what it is and how they can draw from it. But let's see, they drop 3 cards down, dropping that Ronin way down, with a Jeff, a Nico, and a Sentry themselves.
Sentry.
So the lane is now clogged via Jeff. To me, that screams that they don't have the Annihilus.
Correct. So you've lost the left lane.
Correct.
So I think the question, that's actually a pretty good play.
Pretty solid play. I don't think there's any mana. I'm sorry, there's no power share over from My Lee in any way. Even if they had something like a shooting out there randomly, like a Mr. Fantastic, I don't think anything of that nature exists in their deck. As I revisit it with their Loki deck,
I don't think the Annihilus left is the right play for that, because they've already
safe move, but
it is the safe move. But you're only winning by 3 in the middle, so I don't know
with
if
Jeff
you
to be able to move is what it looks like they're kind of banking on more than anything else.
This is a tough one for me.
Wow, and My Lee retreats, saying, I don't have it.
Woo! All right.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little surprised right now.
I'm a gambler. I definitely would have stayed because I would have liked to see what the turn 6 play was going to be.
But it's just like a Tootsie Pop. Sometimes the world may never know. You just gotta move on and pretend you do. But right now, look at the breakdown. It's 9-8. Wee, also known as Smart Fella, versus Miley, as we get a really fast shootout of that Quake, putting it out more as just a on-curve play with a Bar Sinister.
This is a very interesting play line here, because I'm trying to figure out, unless they go with...
Oh, that feels bad. Oh, you missed the Jeff.
So I wonder here, does Miley play the Gladiator in Bar Sinister and just absolutely devastate?
Just mill the entire deck down to nothing. Just go. You get a card. You get a card. You get a card. You get absolutely nothing. It's tempting.
It's not the craziest play.
No, it's not the craziest play, considering that out of their entire deck that would not die to it, 3 out of those 4 cards were already there. And look at the Shang-Chi snipe with the perfect read of Shang-Chi, knowing it was coming down on that turn into Castle Blackstone. What a read by Miley.
Absolutely incredible read.
Risky. Big risk. Very, very risky, but really well done. You got to give credit where credit is due there. That was brilliantly laid out.
Cojones of steel to be able to play that Shang.
And here comes the Loki doing its full flip on, trying to steal that Void and send it back a second time. Did they pull the Annihilus? Who knows? We'll find out.
I'm gonna pull back up the card list because I can't remember, because he just located, so don't think there's gonna be a counter to that 19 power in Castle Blackstone.
If they've Loki, they could have pulled the Sentry, which would only add it to 17, but then also be reducing it down by 3. So it would be down to 14. I think Castle Blackstone's has to be foregone, which means it's down to Bar Sinister and maintaining Muir Island. I don't know if that exists in what could be potentially left.
Yeah, this for me is tough. I think for me, I would probably play the Annihilus in Bar Sinister. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's a tough call to try to predict, but they're leaning heavily into making sure that Ronin is beefed up as high as possible. Personally, I think this might be a little bit of an overcommit to the left, considering Ronin's also going to go all the way up to, I think, 19 power when all is said and done here. And they're leaving the Jeff where it is. But let's see how they play it out. Here comes a whole bunch of sentries. That's going to win it over for Miley as you get a whole 40-pack dropping versus a 24-pack. Jeff, the two Shark brothers, clog it up. And that is going to steal the Muir Island back. No matter how many Annihili you have, it's not going to be enough. That's going to be a 4-cube win for Miley, holding off the smart fella who is not feeling that smart right now.
That was a very, very clutch play to stack that lane.
Very, very clutch. And also great understanding, in my opinion. It's a great understanding of their deck, what they have dubbed the Grand Prick, because they are not running a Shang-Chi. There was no threat of having those sentries, which revealed first, being eliminated. So as much as you may not like to have Shang-Chi in every single deck, these are a perfect example as to, well, why so many people do, because of big key cards like the Sentry, who's in quite a few decks at the moment.
Yeah, in this meta, you build your decks to counter everybody else, or it's just I play cards and it doesn't really matter what you're gonna do because I'm gonna find a way around any of the counters that you're gonna play. it's kind of reminiscent to back when Shuri Red Skull was a big deck that didn't run Shang, and it was just, I'm gonna drop a 28 power Red Skull and then copy it with Taskmaster, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. The good old days? Do we want to call that the good old days?
The calmer days.
Calmer, more predictable days. How about that? As
Yes, the
Gladiator
days
drops
where-
into the third location, he's going to kill out the Alliance. No, he won't. It's a perfect
Oof.
even 8-for-8 tie.
Now we don't have to worry about anything like that, but the Legion in deck is actually very interesting here to see what potentially can happen, because we could turn off Mindscape with that Legion.
Yes. I like Mindscape being a threat more than anything else, as like a kind of a how to mess with your opponent's mind, to find the PG way to word it. But Legion also is very fun, just because it could still permit the Mindscapes to happen with confirmation on both sides. What about even just loading the hands with the hub? That would be detrimental, because it could potentially help the Loki player on if they're running that Quinjet down anytime in the next few turns, as the Sentry drops on over, flips the Void, and they Loki on 4.
A very, well, it's a nicely timed Loki. I am curious though, because a Legion on the hub would also beef the Ronin. But
Right.
It looks like we're just gonna play a Cosmo here instead. Okay.
Okay, so the way I'm looking at it from the experience of these junk decks and what these two players are already doing, one of the things that's already become very obvious to me is that Miley is going to regularly try to flood over into Mindscape as often as possible, right? They're trying to prevent
Right,
that
to keep that
Sentry
Void from
over.
coming over.
It's a very
Mhm.
predictable line. At the same time, hopefully, Wee is also understanding that and trying to figure out how to play around that, whether they end up needing to Annihilus or not every single turn. And at the moment, it kind of looks like they're leaning into that play line by playing very heavily into these cards, as we see Eliath drop on down, not destroying everything, but the Cosmo gets nullified and the Jeff gets nullified. The flexibility of that lane is officially gone, and now you have to decide, are you able to combat it with your Legion? And it looks like they're favoring that one to yes.
Yeah, I think the Legion here is a smart play, because you still have the cards in hand to win this, with the hope that you potentially pull your Annihilus on turn 6.
Yeah.
So I think this is a fine line, because Miley is going to play as if he's going to lose his cards.
I'm looking at what's the top power potential based on what we already have. As we get 4 cards dropping on my lead side. Here comes the Red Guardian, who's bringing down that Void even further. They're feeling confident about that lane, trying to keep it over. As the Nico flips the lane, it's now a
the
Baxter
Baxter building.
builder, and it stops the Legion in the Super Flow. What a snipe number 2 for Miley. Back-to-back snipes.
Huge, huge counterplay to that. That is incredible.
Wow.
The reads for that were fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah. It was a beautiful read. Beautiful read, trying to keep ahead on the Superflow, knowing that the only way to do that would be to flip this. And you had 2 locations get affected because of it. With the Baxter building lead now, you've got to assume Miley is going to try to clog Baxter building to defend it, but the power flip on the opposite end from Smart Fella, he's nullifying it, saying that I have enough, as the Mockingbird Annihilus is what drops on down, and when Annihilus takes out that Void, it's only 20 power, and
It is not
Smart Fella
enough.
Wee has been knocked out, and Miley is moving on to the top 4.
Congratulations to Miley on a incredibly played game. The reads with the Shang-Chi in the game before, the read with the Cosmo as well on a perfectly timed Legion, changing Mindscape into anything else, but hitting the Baxter building is incredible.
Yeah, it's just the constant ability of understanding their opponent's deck and trying to find a new way to go about battling within it was absolutely beautifully read and predicted. I mean, it was just a great read and understanding of how to combat every moment that was appearing. So kudos on being able to figure that one out, because we're sitting here on the other end and we know the decks. We know what they're possibly presenting, and they're
right.
We could even cheat technically and look at all of the points of view, but no, that was not an issue. It was not the case, and they are able to read it fantastically. That was a great read. We're gonna also move on while we have time here in the top 8, because that battle is over, but not all of the battles are over. We're gonna switch over to a battle that's currently ongoing via .go versus Zyru, and we're catching this one as Zyru is now fighting for their life with their final 3 cubes into Aunt May's, with the demon sliding over to the right, and .go is trying to knock them out right now, because this is for Zyru's life. We're catching this right at the very tail end of this top 8 match.
Yeah, and chat, for everybody wanting to know what kind of deck that .go is playing, they're playing a bounce deck that is running Iron Man, Elsa Bloodstone, Hitmonkey, Bishop, Mysterio, Falcon, the typical bounce package in this. It has been a while since I've played a really good bounce deck, and it brings back some memories. But this is a very well-balanced deck, and it can put out a lot of power, especially if you play the Hitmonkey out early potentially, and then bounce it back with Beast and get the opportunity to play it off again.
Yes, and on the opposite side of it, as we see Zyru drops down that Zyru drops down that Angela for the very first time. We're trying to pull up their deck too, but I can't seem to find it fast enough, as this is what we call professionally vamp and look to get their deck link, but we're not pulling it up in time. We're going to find out together as we see the Agent Coulson and Angela. It looks like we're rocking a straight up classic Loki deck.
Yeah, I was trying to find it too as we're both scrambling. But yes, it does look like the typical Loki package on this one. And we've seen a lot of Loki decks.
See what's going on too. See if we can get it for y'all fast.
And it seems like a typical Loki's a very good card to bring into tournaments, because outside of it just being able to play the cards around Loki, it's always if you're not getting the cards that you need out of your draws, it's just, well, all else is failing. Let me use your cards instead.
I'm liking the early flip also in this matchup, knowing that, certain Loki matchups you want to flip late, and certain Loki matchups you want to flip them as early, get Loki down as early as possible. Getting Loki on 4 here, knowing that this is a bounce deck, knowing that the cards are already incredibly cheap, with or without Quinjet down on the board, this is a very smart play, and it feeds perfectly into what .go's plan is. As we get the deck list officially, and Hitmonkey drops and does his flip to beef up the Bishop over in the right-hand side, we end up with a 8, a 17, 23 in total, and a copied Kitty Pryde to boot, as Zyru drops down their own Elsa Bloodstone into the mid, plus a Jeff. There you get your clog from the Elsa Bloodstone on Nico Minoru, who's got a 2x on her, so she's going to go to 8 power as the Hood drops into the mid, puts a demon into the hand, doubles that Nico over to 8, so that's a big 22 to try to fight against, and Falcon says, hang on, I'm not done.
That was an incredibly played hand by Zyru. Being able to pull those cards back, especially getting the extra demon. It is going to be a very interesting play line here to see what happens going into the final play. Putting almost 20 plus power onto Fist Tower and then being able to play another card back into that is going to be a huge concern.
6-3. Zyru not only would have to win this one, would have to win 1, maybe even 2 more. As .go knows, essentially this is just a competition for Aunt May's at this point, because they can't go for Fisk Tower knowing that they're already sitting on a 1-8 Nico Minoru in their hand, which would then also go up another 2 from Elsa, giving another 2 from the Angela. This is a big amount of power needing to try to justify, and .go is trying to figure out, is there any way to guarantee Pet Mansion and Aunt May's right now? And honestly, I would be a little bit worried.
Yeah, so you see .geo going for the Iron Man kitty in the middle, which isn't a terrible play because
Oh, here we go. You ready, man? We're dropping down that Iron Man. Iron Man's gonna go on. Here comes the Kitty Pride getting an extra 2 from Elsa Bloodstone. Bishop makes that lane 20 over in Pet Mansion. That's the number to beat. What flips in there? It's a Mysterio. Right now, not going to be enough, even if it flips over. Here comes the Hit Monkey competing with the Demon, bringing to 18, and the Nico Minoru with another 8. Wait for it. It's a Kitty Pride with an extra 2. That's giving 3. That's only 29 power, and even with it all converted over, .geo knocks out Zyru to go to the Final 4, taking a screenshot for victory.
What a absolute clutch last play.
Wow.
Putting
Fought
absolute
hard.
faith
Wow.
in that Bishop to hold down the lane with the 2 cards that were going to be played was a huge risk, but it definitely paid off.
Yeah, the biggest fear was having an Iron Man get Loki'd over onto the other side of the battlefield and playing it in the right. They did not feel that that was an option based on the cards that had already dropped, so they fought for the mid, and both of them threw almost 30 plus power. And man, just enough to barely squeak it out over the top and move on to the Final 4. So as we get that settled on up, we do know currently that Mai Li, as we saw in the first battle, they are moving on into the Final 4. We know .geo, who I believe might be the next featured match as we go, and we're going to showcase both semi-final matches here on this broadcast. So your Final 4 will leave us with 3 total games left to take a look on. We are still waiting on the results of Dr. Jolt, who we saw in the very first match today, who took down Johnson. We're waiting for that remaining battle to finish of Dr. Jolt versus Ishan Jane, as well as the battle going on between Kamez and Rianadi. I can never get that right. Riandy. There we go. 14th time's the charm. So, Ninja Panda, let me ask you a question here. As we're getting this settled in, from the competitive side of Marvel Snap, it's a constant conversation between the community and Second Dinner in its own unique way of trying to find what is the home of competitive play in a game that Second Dinner so proudfully boasts as a casual game that you can enjoy. But of course, there is very clearly a competitive scene because that's why we're here. How do you look at the perspective of how Second Dinner's acknowledging the competitive scene of Marvel Snap, and what would you love to see come to it in the future?
So this is an interesting situation, right? Because Second Dinner hasn't really done I don't want to say a disservice, but there is a very large market for competitive Snap play, as we've seen with the community itself putting out Snap tournaments, hosting events. And I think as a organization, you would try to jump on the fact that your player base, who some people claim is dying, some other people think it's expanding, is clamoring for more interaction from the company saying, hey, we want to play your game competitively. It is definitely because they advertise it as the fastest card battling game.
Right.
And it is. It's a quick 3-minute game, unless you're playing Conquest and then you're turning it into like a 35, 40 hour long event. So, tournaments themselves are kind of a catch-22 to the fast battling thing. But in any event that you sponsor, there is going to be a drive for some sort of competitive side of it, whether it's going to be a casual event for the people who don't play, or it's a serious tournament where there's money on the line. So I think what Second Dinner should do is do both, right? If you want to have a serious e-gaming, esports tournament for those people who are committed, then do that, but also run charity events, run other small events for those other people who just want to go and interact with the community, learn how to play decks that are being showcased in events like this, and actually get that opportunity to really grow their Snap knowledge.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that you see is people ask a ton of questions. Like you see it in the Snap community on Twitter. You see it in the Snap community that we follow in the chat. People are asking, how do I play this deck? Can we do friendlies so we can practice this deck? People want to do more, and I think we as content creators, those of us who stream, we do offer that. It's like, if you guys want to play us randomly, by all means, try out your decks. I'll lose to it occasionally. I'll give you advice on it. I'll give you feedback. It's what we can do to help out. But Second Dinner really needs to do a better job of also supporting us and the rest of their community by making the competitive scene a little bit more actually realistic and more competitive.
I think that Second Dinner is very much so acknowledging the fact that the community has come together to bring on a new level of something that they necessarily weren't forecasting, even given their past experiences, whether they be from Blizzard and Hearthstone and all these other games that many of the developing and the founding team has all come from. We've started to see a lot of people really push into Marvel Snap in a competitive aspect. And we obviously are here supporting that competitive aspect because of groups like Snap Judgements League, like Pursuit Gaming, and we're getting more and more involvement with the community. So the only thing I'll recommend for Second Dinner, for the community, for all of us, is to speak your mind. If you are passionate about something, showcase it. Just make sure that it's always broadcasting a conversation. We're not looking for a debate. We're not looking for an argument. We're looking to build the conversation around what this right here, what we're all doing at this moment, is competitive Marvel Snap. We can be a casual game, absolutely, while having a competitive aspect. And I think that moments like these are exactly showcasing what that is. So I hope that the community really is enjoying these types of broadcasts, these types of events, so that Second Dinner can look at it the way that we look at it. Because even though there might be a disconnect, we do all have that same commonality together, which is we all love Marvel Snap and we want to make it a success. So speaking of successes, Mr. Ninja Panda, as we get ready for the top 4, why don't you let people know once again where they can find you, more about you, and what you have coming down the future.
So yes, for those of you who don't know, my name is Ninja Panda. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, also all under the name Ninja Panda 106. I typically stream Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, with an occasional weekday tossed into there. I do love to do giveaways, so if you guys are ever in my chats or ever hanging out, there's usually stuff being given away pretty much every other stream. I will drop a little teaser for some of you. O Behaved and I are working on something pretty big, and some of you might know O Behaved from the weekly Deep Space podcast where he hosts Marvel Snap creators. We are working on something pretty big that is probably going to be announced within the next couple of weeks or so. Really excited about that. Looking forward to sharing it with the community. But yes, guest, I appreciate, as always, you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your stream. You are an incredible caster, and I have appreciated all of this.
No, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on board, representing Pursuit Gaming, and being a part of this first inaugural Snap Grand Prix. Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it, good sir. You did a fantastic job. I know this is, casting's a new thing, so you should breathe. You should shake it off. You did it. You survived. It wasn't that hard, hopefully. I mean, it was, we've tried to create a fun environment for everybody here, not just for our viewers and our listeners, but also, of course, for each other, because we're trying to have a good time just as much as everybody who's watching. So thank you so much for being here today. We're going to take a short break and get ready for what's going to be coming into what will be our final 4. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stick around. We will be right back. Welcome back. Welcome in, everyone. For those who do not know, my name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming, and we are heading to the final 4 here of the Snap Grand Prix, and we have a special guest with us once again. We are constantly rotating out because, look, you may have seen this guy before, possibly on YouTube, possibly on, well, basically every Marvel Snap stream, the one, the only, PulseGlazer. Glazer, good sir, how you doing, man?
Happy to be here. I'm really excited to call the top 4. We've got 2 Loki decks and then 2 wild cards, so it's super exciting.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup to see if the reign of Loki in competitive Marvel Snap is officially back now that Thanos has been dethroned as the most prominent competitive deck, in my opinion, in Marvel Snap. They're getting the matchups and setups over on the back end right now, but I want to showcase that we do know who our Final Four officially is, so we can congratulate and say good luck and have fun to the match that we're going to be watching first here with PulseGlazer, which is .go versus CallMeSal, and then the second match who we will have after, which is Dr. Jolt versus Miley.
So for those who don't know, Gio and CallMeSal are in the same meta. They're both Italian players in the Italian meta. They were, I believe, number 1 and 3 in the Snap Fan World Championships as well. This is 2 of the very best players in the world we're going to watch play.
Yeah, this is going to make for an incredibly interesting matchup, in my opinion, because, you know, we kind of alluded to it earlier on in the first couple of matchups, where we saw as one of the most difficult things in Marvel Snap, discipline, coming to really be focused and showcased in these types of battles when we get to the top 16, top 8, final 4. And look, big moments happen. We love the 4 cubers and the 6 cubers, but I know you've been around the Marvel Snap scene long enough as well to understand this question. Outside of cube management, what do you think is the most important skill for these players as they end up in high competitive play?
So these 2 know each other. They know each other's tendencies. There's a lot of reading your opponent you do in high-level Marvel Snap that most players don't even consider. The top of Infinite Ladder is filled with players, who all absolutely know each other. They know each other's tendencies. They know each other's decks. Not only are these 2 top ladder competitors, they have their own individual little Italian tournaments fairly regularly.
Right.
They've played each other probably hundreds of times. I don't know how much we're going to know what they're going to do nearly as much as they're going to each know what the other does. However, I think CallMeSal is very heavily favored. Tachio is a complete beast, right? I don't even think Bounce is close to a tier 1 deck, and he made the top 4. But CallMeSal is playing a real tier 1 deck. I think Loki is the best deck in Marvel Snap right now, at least in terms of where the meta is, and CallMeSal has it.
Yeah, Comey's rocking a very unique build because of one card in particular, Jean Grey, who we've started to hear these rumblings of over the last, you know, I want to say maybe like 2 weeks or so. And now Jean Grey, who recently in the most recent OTA got buffed up to a 3/4. Jean Grey starting to make a little bit more of a meta appearance, and people are finally starting to realize the luxury that Jean Grey provides as a defensive and offensive weapon. How do you feel about the new version of Jean Grey, even though she's the same, just a little tiny bit more buff?
I don't think she's that good. I'm not going to pretend I do. I think that the stat is nice. This deck is particularly teched to beat Hela. This is saying I lose the Hela matchup. If someone decides to bring Hela and try and high roll this tournament, or Phoenix Force or whatever, the Jean Grey and Cosmo can straight up win that matchup. That's what this is here for. It is good against Bounce, though, because that Cosmo in a Jean lane against something like a Beast will completely shut down Bounce.
Yeah. I think that Jean Grey, for me, as a control aspect, you know, we saw War Machine most recently come on out, and having these types of, you know, abilities to flex around like everybody knows and loves Jeff the Baby Land Shark, and now War Machine, it makes a card like Jean Grey a little bit less difficult to navigate, because we're starting to see these decks start to arise where you can manipulate your opponent's locations lockdown style, but not necessarily your own, as we saw with Professor X, who has gone through this very interesting cycle himself of 5-3, way too strong, needs to be nerfed, what's going on, 5-1, nobody ran him, 5-1 now, and he's still incredibly good again because of a bunch of random cards like Cannonball. And it's cool because I love seeing the cycle of certain cards kind of come and go. You know, like Cable did, for example. He's come and gone, and now he's back again, too. It's an interesting analysis of what's happened recently, especially in competitive Marvel Snap.
It's always extremely worth noting that whenever you see an OTA, if you hate a buff or love a buff or a nerf, that the game is meant to be cyclical. Think about Cable's journey in particular, where he was in the Loki meta, and they were like, we're not sure we meant that. And they pushed him out of the meta for a while, and then they brought him back in. Cards are not meant to just be good, or most cards are not meant to just be good and in meta decks at all times, Shang-Chi accepting. But Professor X is in much the same spot, right? Everyone when Professor X was nerfed was like, oh, this is unplayable, now there's nothing to do. Have time, have patience. There seems to be a plan. The meta is developed so that there will be good and powerful things to do with these cards. Very, very rarely is a card just killed.
I think for me, one of the most unique cards in these competitions that is going to really be interesting to watch from a competitive standpoint is the re-rise also of Elsa Bloodstone. I want to bring her up because we've seen her come and go, and we've all kind of gotten this revisited love for Elsa Bloodstone and these, lane clog bounce style decks, and we're going to see that with both of our players in this matchup. Do you think that they maybe overhit it on the mark with Elsa Bloodstone in this new version, because this is what we all wanted, but now it's everywhere?
No, it's good to have powerful cards early in the game. The game, I thought, was, for me at the very least, I don't want to play a bunch of 6-drops. I want to be doing things with my turns. I want to be playing things, and Elsa gives you a lot of control over how you do that, how much power goes in random places, and she's still a 3/3. I think what's really interesting here is we have Elsa Bloodstone in both these decks, but 0 Hope Summers, because what was the general meta consensus was that Hope was so good and that you run these cards together. It seems from at least these two obvious top players that Angela, Elsa, Kitty is the package, Hope is extra.
Yeah. Hope Summers has completely blown my mind in regards to her success rate. I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting the card to be very good. I wasn't necessarily expecting the card to be as good as it has now grown to. And when you start seeing the meta also reflect that, acknowledge that, embellish that, and then we get to a top matchup right here, and it's a bounce deck, it's what she should love, and it's a Loki deck, what she should love, and she's not in either of these two decks in particular. What does that say about a card like this to you?
It says the meta is wide open. It says the meta is varied. As people scream, I'm sure it happens in your chat, it happens in my comments all the time, it's pay to win. For some reason, people now are convinced the top of the Infinite Ladder players are playing a lot of bots, which now boggles my mind. I've gotten like 10 of those comments over the past week. But the meta is varied. There are better things than others, but even amongst the very best things in Marvel Snap, there's a ton of variety. We like to act like things are solved because certain voices in the meta, including obviously both of us, right, say things are good or bad, right? But we're operating on an imperfect data set, and there is so much more to this game than we all ever know.
Yeah, and I'm proud to say that Marvel Snap is in such a good spot, in my opinion, such a good spot where we can enjoy this type of matchup where we know the cards are good, but now, as you kind of alluded to in the beginning of the conversation, it's pilot versus pilot more than it is deck versus deck. And as you get into putting in your reps into the competitive Marvel Snap scene, you very much so understand that. You understand that these players are not playing their deck, they're playing their opponent. So I throw a different type of question towards you then. What do you think, for those who are struggling to understand their opponents and try to get better at specifically that one skill, how do you think it ends up becoming something stronger for the average player as we broadcast and put the game up on the screen?
So my general advice for how to get better at reading your player is, first you need to recognize the deck. You need to be able to figure out what they're playing. So pick a tier list of your comfort level and write down the decks, or have a document that has the decks, and as you're playing, practice predicting what the deck is. And then once you're like getting to like 75-80% predicting the deck, start predicting the plays. And as you see players over and over again, if you write their names down, you'll get it. If not, it'll just happen automatically. And that fast on turn one is so good. I think that there's a lot to speak to just knowing exactly how to play different things, and then knowing when your opponent is hitting and missing what they should be playing.
Yeah, the constant upkeep of trying to maintain who's being able to read a deck and then being able to read, okay, this is turn 5 on this deck, as Project Pegasus drops as our 3rd location after we've already seen a Basted hand from .geo. It's incredibly difficult to try to know everything that's going on. Whoa, we got a snapback in in the match number 1.
Because we have a Bishop Iron Man play.
Oh,
Komi's has to go. Unless this is a Loki, Komi's has to go. Oh my god, he stayed.
They stayed. It's gonna be a potential guaranteed 4, possibly 8 cuber here in the semifinals. We see Elsa Bloodstone, Angela, Agent Coulson with the RNG, and a big 5-0 Jeff, plus a beast, dropping on down as Bishop Iron Man drops. This is an exciting first opening round.
So the question I think that .geo is now asking himself is, do I want Kitty Pryde to be a demon? Is that extra power worth more on Bishop, or is it worth more as a demon? You could also make the Hood a demon if you decide the Kitty is
the
more
demon
valuable.
spell is huge right here. Absolutely huge right here. Having multiple demons be able to drop on down, and knowing that obviously you're guaranteeing playing the Hood on this turn, you're going to need it to have it at some point. Bouncing the Kitty back, man, I could see this potentially being a just-in-case Kitty play of bounce the Kitty first, then Nico second, and just that. Let it come back into the hand as a 1-2, decide how it's going to go. This is a really, really tough call right now. What
Decides that the Kitty is going to be a demon, and I'm winning that lane. Interesting choice of where to play the Hood.
Wow, here we
because
go.
the opponent has yet to play in Vormir, and now it looks like they'll be able to get 15 power in that lane without playing into Vormir.
What could have been a nice secured location for .geo, knowing that Vormir hasn't been tossed into, but they already had. Now we're sitting at at least 15 power while you're already sitting on 10. I think Kamiz really needs to start fighting for Lake Hellas in the middle at this point, because even having 15 to slide in there, this is a bounce deck. This is a deck meant for multiple cards to come on down. That Bishop's going to continue to ramp and ramp and ramp, even if they float on this turn and leave Hitmonkey, Demon, Angela as the final turn of the game.
My working assumption is Geo's play is going to be Angela. I'm guessing right, but I'm not sure. With the intent to threaten the opponent out of even competing for Project Pegasus, because Angela offers that extra power there.
And Kami's as well with this,
this
unpredictable Agent Coulson. I mean, they could have drawn an Enchantress. We have no idea how they're going to compete for it as Vision moves over into the left. Here comes a Snow Guard who's going to get tossed into Vormir, sacrifice herself, put a couple of Hawks and Bears into their hand as Project Pegasus now reveals over for us. And Enchantress drops down
Enchantress came out. And was that played on turn 5, not turn 6?
Whoa!
Okay, no, Geo's running. Geo's almost certainly running, right?
I don't know how Geo stays in this after that big Enchantress play.
Wow, Komi is not saving that for the last turn, saying, I'm not risking it. Yep, immediate retreat. Forget
Take the 4 cubes, not risk the 8.
Into Enchantress, goodbye. That is wild. That is completely wild. What a pull from... yeah, that's the right...
I saw the future. I said, maybe they pulled Enchantress, and sure enough... Look, I'm watching this live with you through Discord right now. I saw nothing. Unreal. I called it. Oh, .geo loses 4 cubes in round 1 and has a big mountain to climb back over a very formidable opponent right off the bat with the Black Vortex in location number 1.
Looks like passing on the Nico, deciding that that's not the ability that wants to be played, even with 2 bounce cards in hand, is interesting. And another Project Pegasus.
Don't worry, folks. Location batching is not real, as now
I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but location batching is ridiculous.
Now you've got a lot of conversions and flippings you got to debate about, because you have the Nico possibly getting a demon to happen, plus you also had the Black Vortex as a potential location to flip another card over to. How do you take your risks out? And they could just load the entire mid.
Yeah, that would have been... Well, you don't, because Falcon's going to be a demon, and the other 2 cards are going to return to hand, right? So it's just, that's a lane you're saying, oh wow, we're just fighting for this lane. This is now a lane of contention with both Angelas in it. Although with Beast, it is possible to get out of that contention.
Here comes the big old bounce. Bring it back into the hand. Back into the hand. Falcon flips to 6. So it's an Angela on Angela mid-match. And the third location's Titan.
I don't believe that matters for either player.
Yeah, no, nobody's rocking a 6 cost.
Yeah.
Well, we get a snap.
But the snap comes in from Geo. I believe that was Geo's snap.
I believe it was Geo as well, yeah. Huh.
Does Comey's decision here, I believe, comes down to whether or not he has Loki. If you have Loki, you're just done. Yep.
Oop.
If you don't have Loki, you just run. Call it a day.
And away it goes. Victoria! He knows better. Runs away. Look, you've already got a 4-cube lead. Give him the 1. It's going to round 3. Reset. Try it again.
Yeah, there's no value to that risk.
Yeah. Okay, as we start with the Wakandan Embassy. Nice
Oh
little
my-
perk.
That's damn near a snap right in and of itself. You've got a Kitty starting at 3 and an Iron Man starting at 2 without even having that Bast. That's phenomenal.
That Bast almost feels weak now, where it could be pretty detrimental. It doesn't give any true value right now, except for Mysterio.
Then we hit the Angela. This location reveal can be very dangerous. I don't even know where this Angela variant came from, but it's real nice.
Ooh, big house.
Big house.
Feels good.
Mildly relevant for this match for Iron Man, but not for much else.
That Iron Man has some nice flexibility, though, to be able to play and try to compete up against the Angela lane, especially at 5-2, as Jean Grey makes her first appearance for Commies right now. Oh, man. Interesting. Just bounce and get the Angela to ramp, as Nico gets drawn with the Destroy and a Mysterio, too.
Apparently, we are playing the... Oh, we're not? Oh, turn 5 Mysterio Hitmonkey. Nope, we're just getting that Mysterio out of here right now.
Yeah, take advantage of the double card draw.
The question is this Cosmo?
It is! Cosmo, perfect read there, Pulse. We're getting good at this. It's like we play the game. There goes the 1, 2, 3, no draws.
No draw.
Oh, the draw kill.
Is this enough for a snap?
Oof. But they are sitting on Falcon, so they're still feeling pretty good at being able to clear out at least the Nico. And now Bast.
So, but I think you leave Nico and just drop Iron Man. Yeah, I would probably just drop Iron Man here and say, all right, if that's the lane we're competing in, you can't get a second Enchantress, right?
It wouldn't matter either way, as Cable just tops it off to 18, putting a competitive lane sitting at currently 4 for .go over in the left, goes up to 8. They got to have a 5 drop. That would be a Hitmonkey potentially, or the Kitty Pride.
Falcon. Falcon sitting there as a 2-5.
2-5 Falcon.
Yeah.
So you have your Kitty option, you have your Falcon up. Falcon just ties it though, does it not?
Plus 5.
It's just a tiebreaker.
Yeah, that is a tiebreaker. That's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're not confident necessarily in
you don't really have a better
the second
choice
lane, that might be a way to do it.
You have to play in that lane first, right? So Kitty goes there, then you can't play Falcon. You're giving up that 5 to play the 1 power Bast. It's no longer worth it. So I think it has to end up being Falcon, which is obnoxious. It's Falcon or run. It might actually just be run, rather than mess with the tiebreaker.
Falcon, Bast, Kitty, Hitmonkey. It's the highest power potential by going for a tiebreaker into the big house.
You could play Kitty, give up mid by playing Hood, and then go Bast and Hitmonkey both right.
For those extra 2s.
Oh, deciding not to do the Hood part and just forego that power for tiebreaker
because it would be
reasons.
losing 3 on the tie. Oh, no, it wouldn't be a tiebreaker situation.
It wouldn't, because there's no
It'd be
tiebreaker
over
right
with
now.
the Kitty. You're right. Here we go. We get a snap back.
A snap and a finish. Let's see. Is Gio going to go to the finals or... Sorry, is Comey's basically putting Gio at the end of the game or no?
Yeah, he'd be down to his final 2. They go for it. There's
Elsa
the blood stun into the big house and a bear. That's 17 power to compete in the right. Kitty Pride gets stolen over on the left. Here comes a Bast. Extra for Angela. Hitmonkey does its final reveal. It only adds on 6 power plus another 2 to Angela. But watch. Boom! There it is with the Mysterio. 4 cubes.
So... Gio is disgustingly good at this game, is the moral of the story.
Beautiful, beautiful choice.
Upsettingly good at this game.
taking advantage of that potential, like, where was I competing with Mysterio mind game more than anything else. Wow.
Getting that
Los
demon out
Diablos
right
to
away
open
with
up.
Beast in hand.
All right, demon into the hand. Let's reset. We're all ready. It's now a small advantage for .go by 1 cube. It's 6-5. As we see Angela on Angela. Tough match here.
Subterranea.
Interesting.
So, Beast into Nico is where my money is right now. Beast on that hood into Nico. And that lets you, or you can just blow up the Beast, I suppose.
Potentially. I mean, it really depends on where to me, it depends on where Los Diablos destroys.
Yeah.
That could be pretty defining. If they're going to have to continue to stack for 5 turns exclusively in the left and have that become a competition, that's tough.
Yeah. There you go. And then you can destroy the hood. Get an extra demon in hand.
Not going to take the bounce move, but instead just say, I want all the demons. Goodbye to something. Cable pulls something out of the deck. Adds on to Angela. Puts the Quinjet down for the reduction now of said card. Hood goes back into the hand. Flips over the Nico, ready to destroy the next hood. As it destroys... Oh, it gets rid of the miniaturized lab.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
Huge.
Geo needs that space top, right? Oh. So are you blowing up Bast or Hood now, is the question.
Ooh, I like that better. That's a better power swing.
Yeah, I think I do as well.
Play the demon
you have to
down.
Get that but then you have to get that demon out as well.
Yeah.
Oh, nope, decides that that's not how we're doing it. And is he going to make the mistake of basting that demon?
No. There's no way.
Yes, he is. He's basting 2 demons. Nope, sees it. And Comey says bye. He snapped, so Comey said bye. I can't deal with your draw.
All right, take off another cube. 6-4, lead for .go. This is the final opportunity for both of these players to take advantage of each other in an even matchup. 6-4 is changed now to 3-2 because of high stakes.
Woo! Better find Cosmo for that Carmitage with Hitmonkey.
Definitely. And we get a snap immediately.
Geo immediately says, play your card there or lose. And this is our last game.
Ooh,
oh, no,
they're going for it, y'all. Here we go.
Comey said I'm ready. Comey says gets to play Loki, which really hurts.
Facts. We have not seen a Loki drop yet in the first 4 rounds as Quinjet drops down first. That's a good sign that maybe we do see it.
Oh, Clintar, though.
Ooh. Rough.
Bast is unbelievable right now. This is an unbelievable Bast.
This is like a meta Bast hand, essentially. If only Kitty Pryde was there instead of Falcon. Like, this is about as good as it gets. Milling 2 cards with the double Camartage Cable. Here comes a Bast, and now we've got Mysterios and Friends also. And another Miniaturize Lab in the 3rd location. Again, it is not real, people. Location matching is not real.
Angela, Kitty. Double Kitty. Pulled the Kitty.
Double Kitties as they start to stack with Bishop. Whew.
Here's a Hood. Do you take the 2 demons? I think you have to take the
Hood, Falcon, Bast looks really, really good here. Being able to get that Bast back into the hand again.
But I'm not sure you can play it because you've got the last turn. I guess you can. You can play 1 demon. I don't think you can actually play 2.
Because you're looking to play more cards on turn 6 and play the Iron Man down on turn 5. That's the problem. Right. The only problem I see here because of Miniaturized Lab locking that last location. You're looking for the bigger play on 6 versus 5. So you could potentially sacrifice it and pretend that it doesn't exist just by putting a ridiculous amount of demons in the hand. Because Falcon would pull the Bast first, Hood second. That puts 2 demons. That's 5 into the hand. Then Bast 6, and there's no card draw.
Yep, no. But you have the cards you need, and there you go. Nothing drawing.
Oh, he's there! Woof!
Yeah. Had to be.
Cosmo.
But now that's the Iron Man lane, right?
It probably is, but again, Kitty Pryde can still bounce. Angela can still pop in as well and ramp up a bit. I think this is
Feels
just
like
a Clintar battle more than anything now. As we get it looks like is that the extra card or the plus is the extra card from
It's
Nico?
the extra card, but
Yeah.
you can't.
I was
it's
confused that
just
one in the
gotta be
plus
Iron
too.
Man. Yep, they look so similar.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, there we go. Bounce.
There's the Loki.
Ooh, Loki makes its first appearance.
And Loki
and
makes
risks
this
it all on a
terrifying.
turn 6.
Well, Gio's not leaving because this is.
Like, there's no reason to.
Yeah, there's no leaving happening here. So this feels like Mysterio, Hitmonkey, and Nico.
It's a Mysterio Hitmonkey, definitely. The question is
Do you want to
placement.
change the location?
Because you've got all the 3s. That's going to give Kamar Taj.
I'm Hitmonkey.
Clintar gets another 3.
I'm Hitmonkey mid. I don't know where I'm playing Nico. Nico is my concern play.
Now remember, they
You're
could have
worried.
also pulled an Iron Man.
Bast over. It's just wrong. They could pull an Iron Man. They could pull a Hitmonkey. They could pull a Mysterio.
Man, if we saw
They could-
another Iron Man come out on Kami's side onto the left, that would be huge. Absolutely huge.
Decide to give up on mid. Wait, why
Well, it would
Bast
tie
over
the mid
Nico
at the
here?
moment.
Does not make sense.
Oh, no, wait, no, it wouldn't tie.
No, it wouldn't tie. There you
No,
go.
it'd be adding 3. It'd be down 1.
Yeah.
And they drop it. Here we go. Who's moving to the finals?
No!
Tune in next week for an all-new, aw-snap, exciting episode. Reconnect. Screenshot. Reconnect.
My poor heart.
Wait for it, recouping the battle. Here we go,
Oh, snap.
recouping again. In Italian, recouping again. Recupero, cambiamente, no, oh snap. It's a problem for our players. Oh no. Oh no.
Please, 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 please. No!
He
You're
needs to
gonna have to restart
reboot.
the
He
game.
needs to reboot.
Yeah.
It's the final. Who won? I am so about the suspense, but I hate it at the same
Can't believe the
time.
timing of this. We're never gonna see the result. I guess we'll see.
We're never
We'll
gonna
realize it.
know. This is like the end of Woody's Roundup. What happens?
Load, please.
Load faster. Hopefully they have all the
So the
assets
concern
downloaded.
is,
Gonna find it
did
out.
his
Gonna load
Wi-Fi
it quick.
die? Oh my god.
What an amazing moment. It wouldn't be a live broadcast if something didn't go wrong.
Oh.
We all know that here on the production end.
Checking out for the internet.
Checking for all the communication side. We don't want to communicate the wrong things out. Let's find out.
But I've won. Gio says bugged, but I've won to the group chat.
Oh man, let's find out.
Is that? No, that is not okay. Oh my god.
It's bugged, but we don't know. We don't know.
Gio seems to sure believe that he's won.
Reconnect. Here it is.
No.
Oh, me oh my.
This is utterly amazing.
I'm watching on the back end. They're trying to get the last visual.
Oh, is that happening on the? I hear a screenshot happening. Oh, that's just Oh, there goes the stream.
There goes the live stream. We're going to try and get a live screenshot to figure out what happened. It looks like somehow via the magic of that huge ramping piece from Bishop, all of a sudden, .go did come over the top and took down Commies, and that's confirmed by Commies.
Wow. All right, .go heading to the finals. You know what this is? Like 2 months ago, I said I think .go is the best player in the world, and a bunch of people DM me and they were like, "You're insane." I don't think I'm looking so insane anymore, friends. I just don't think so.
Potentially. There it is right there. We have a final screenshot of just the win from .go. That's been submitted to us by Commies on the from the final board. And it looks like, from what we can tell on it, unfortunately, we didn't get the full layout here, but he played out over in there. Their own Mysterio, which we can see in the bottom left-hand corner, tried to fill up all the lanes and ramp up their own Bishop, but it wasn't gonna be enough as the Cosmos over here too. Loki, there's a Mysterio, there's the Symbiote, there's another two. We do the best that we can with what we have to work with, ladies and gentlemen. No one saw this coming, but we do know that we can celebrate that .go is moving into the finals. The question is, who will they face?
Would you have, if I gave you 20 guesses, would Bounce have been one?
Would Bounce have been one?
Yeah.
No,
if I said
not in today's meta. No way.
No, right? I would have said absolutely not. There's no way. I've played so much Bounce, and I'm like, you have to play it so perfectly. One slight card off, one slight wrong draw, and the entire deck collapses on itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
My cat is now whacking the keyboard with his tail. If anyone can hear that, I'm very sorry.
All of the appropriate frustrations and difficulties, nevertheless. So, as we get ready for the second match that we will be showcasing here, and once again, the second showcase will be Dr. Joint versus My Lee. I do want to ask you, good sir, as one of the leads, to say the minimum, on this entire project in collaboration between Pursuit Gaming and the Snap Judgements League, let the community know about the Snap Judgements League and what you have coming up in the very near future, good sir.
All right, the Snap Judgements League is kicking off next week. If you are into Marvel Snap tournaments and competitive play, it is the place for you. We have an absolute ton of top players. You will get better playing in this league. We also have $700 in prizes thanks to our sponsor, Prime Mind, which you should still totally be checking out. Check out the Snap Judgements League. If you can't give up a Saturday, and I know a lot of the Marvel Snap community are busy adults, if you can't give up a Saturday and Sunday for a tournament, all you have to do for the Snap Judgements League is play one game a week, scheduled on your own with your opponent. It's perfect. You can end up on my channel for YouTube. You can end up on guest channel for both Twitch and YouTube. The Snap Judgements League Season 1 was genuinely a blast. It was a huge, huge success, and we're looking to turn it up even higher on Season 2. Please check it out.
Glazer, good sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this amazing Snap Grand Prix surprise, we'll call it, semifinal, as we get ready for our next matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stick around. We're going to be showcasing the second match of the semifinals after a quick word from this ridiculously unnecessary BRB screen. Thank you so much, Glazer, once again for being here with us. We're going to get ready for the next match, and we'll see you all in just a moment. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the semifinals here of the Snap Grand Prix. Once again, with a change of scenery, we have gone from one bearded, short-haired, brown-haired, bearded content creator to another one. We have upgraded or downgraded, depending on where you come from in this world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing on this guy that just prefers to have you call him Sal. Sal, what's going on, good sir? Welcome into the broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me, guest. Super excited to be here. That last match, oh my God, you had me stressed. I needed to know the outcome.
As did I. How do you think I felt? So yes, it was definitely a very surprise moment here for the semifinals. But you know what? Look, technology is our best friend, but also our worst enemy. So
hey, you know, we all wouldn't be here if it weren't for the technology anyways. So
this is a pretty big fact. So we are getting set up right here with the next semifinal. Excuse me. Please, for those who do not know who you are in this magical world of Marvel Snap, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more formally than just saying hi? Let people know, why should they call you Sal?
Well, Sal is my name. My full name is technically Salvatore, but pretty much my entire life, I grew up in America. People try and pronounce it, they butcher it, whatever. So since a young age, I've just been like, just call me Sal. Let's keep it easy. So that's where that name comes from. But outside of that, I started streaming Marvel Snap less than a year ago. I can't remember exactly the start date, but it's been a blast. The most recent changes is now myself and yourself and a few other lovely members of the community are part of Power On Gaming. So that's the biggest thing happening right now. I'm super excited to help build up that organization and see where we could take it. We have a lot of cool really cool things in the pipeline that are coming soon. So I'm excited to share them all when we happen.
Lots of cool things in the Marvel Snap scene happening all quickly and simultaneously. So I'm just glad to have you here today as we showcase the Snap Grand Prix brought to you by Pursuit Gaming and Snap Judgements League. So as we head into this very next match, as we get our matchups paired and set up, it looks like we are just about ready. They're getting their codes to be shared at the moment. Look,
I think I've got the deck list up next to me. I think I'm looking at what we're going to be playing here. So Miley, are we able to talk about the list?
Yes, we can. It is open at this point, and the contestants do know what they are facing up against. The main one I kind of want to focus on is the toxicity of Marble Snap, also known as this toxic Sarah deck that's starting to really make waves here because of cards like US Agent, Typhoid Mary, Man Thing. Like, this is a really unique cacophony, and it's made it to the semis.
It's brutal, and I'm excited to see it. I think a deck like this arguably performs better in Conquest than in Ranked. What do you think?
I would agree. I would agree with that, because you do have the ability to adjust over time, and once you understand the deck by turn 3, you have a much better read on trying to figure out what to do with it. But we're gonna go into the gameplay now. We're bringing on Miley versus Dr. Joint, and we're watching this one from Miley's portable services, just barely gotten that phone connection up and running, but we are here. We are finding every possible way to get these broadcasts to you, because that's what we got to do here for Marvel Snap. So Miley, thank you so much for showcasing your game here as they flip their Quinjet first and foremost into the pet mansion, trying to avoid the murder world.
What do you think? Is he going to sacrifice his own Quinjet with the Quake?
It is potentially not an option I would ever consider, but it is one that we should keep an eye out on, as we now have a reduction with Sentry, which was pulled via the hub. So maybe there's a double play that you could kind of mess around with a bit here, but hitting that Red Guardian into the Lizard doesn't seem like a viable option. So going for just the power of the Gladiator is a great call. Here comes the Baron Zemo from Dr. Joint's side, who pulls out the Snow Guard, and Gladiator's now going to pull from them a Red Guardian, which brings the Gladiator down to 6. Doesn't matter, the effect will still complete, and it is now 7-6 advantage over for Dr. Joint's side of the battlefield.
Amazing. What an interesting interaction too with Gladiator. I've noticed that. It's cool.
Yeah, once the effects start, they must complete. It is, think of it like, to give a flashback term, PEMDAS, right? You have to complete the full equation. So if you start an inner equation, you have to then also complete the full equation before you move on to the next one. So that's why the effect will still continue.
I'm very surprised Miley here didn't play Jeff right with the cable to try and fill up that lane to give the option of still playing the 3-cost Sentry at some point.
Maybe we're looking at a little bit of a delay on thinking that Jeff is viable, because yes, they have the flexibility of that Sentry, but maybe also forecasting that, hey, I'm clogging the left early. Clogging the right early because I have a valuable card of that nature. It wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever that it could be read as such. But the Red Guardian, I think, is probably a targeted play for Miley right now to get rid of that Man-Thing reduction, because that could swing that entire lane, or they can just go for the Luke Cage if they really need to on the final turn. I don't know if you want to show.
Do you ever risk Red Guardian mid here if this is you in the driver's seat? Do you?
I personally do. I take that chance, even though Dr. Joint does have priority. I don't expect a big card specifically, but we get a snap at the last second, which buys some time as he plays the Loki mid. Not going to get reduced by Man-Thing.
Just going for the Loki, not using any of these other tools. The Luke Cage, it's already there. Oh my goodness. Not what I would have expected.
Sarah on Loki as they flip. What's it reveal? What do we earn? Hazmat, Sarah, Zemo, Man-Thing, Lizard. It's reduction, 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 reduction. That is it. And it's their own Hazmat, technically, but just now reduced.
Okay, we lost our own Luke Cage in here. Well, Miley lost the Luke Cage there. That's spicy.
Taking the pull specifically here of that Hazmat as we get a retreat from Dr. Joint, who doesn't like the remaining hand, knowing that everything else is cheaper in Miley's hand, says, you can have these two, let's go on.
Wow, not what I was expecting there at all.
That's one
This
of the
is an
best parts
interesting
about Marvel
matchup.
Snap, man. You think you know, but you have no idea. This is the diary of Miley and Dr. Joint trying to figure out what to do with Stark Tower on turn 1 and now Valley of the Hand on turn 2.
Best case scenario pull for Cable. Is it Luke Cage?
Probably. Just because of the
Probably, right?
hazmat threat as being such a viable 2 cost, I wouldn't be surprised if that's probably the most likely top pull.
Ooh, interesting. Does he just rip the Loki now? I guess not.
Potentially.
I'm not gonna lie. It would be in my head on this turn to go for an Agent Coulson and a Quinjet, and then Loki on 4 for a huge hand. Oh,
And they might be leaning into that line of thinking as well. There's no destroy necessarily that's going to happen here, except for the Gladiator, which is still in the deck. So I like that they've gone with that play. Go ahead and take their pieces on, put a bunch into the hand. Here comes a Loki and a Taskmaster, so you can you pick your own Loki, which is now reduced even further, so you can play out more if you really want to, like that Shang-Chi, which is a very valuable card given this deck not having any very high stacking cards. This is more about affecting the opposite side, and this is the tallest in their deck as we get a snap.
we get a snap. He's not going. He's foregoing the Shang-Chi, maybe just attempting to win left and right here.
It's a little bit of a forfeit. Now, granted, they have not drawn Luke Cage. We could see a top deck Luke Cage potentially happen as Baron Zemo drops into Stark Tower, giving 2 cards those +2s, which is going to put a Snow Guard into the hand, flooding more cards into the hand, but they're going to drop in a US Agent to keep the Elysium in check. Here comes the Loki flip, and they draw the Luke Cage in the Loki flip.
And the the 1-cost Typhoid Mary. Are you kidding me?
Oh, all of the reduction coming on down here. So now you have to look at this entire matchup as no longer a reduction matchup. There's a very good chance that we end up seeing Luke Cage on both sides of the battlefield. You actually now look at a priority swing because Red Guardian has incredible value if it can remove that Luke Cage from your opponent's side of the battlefield.
So then in a best case scenario here, you're hiding Luke Cage behind another lower power card to make sure it can't get hit.
Exactly. As we see the US Agent drop down, that Typhoid Married out of the Valley of the Hand, and here comes the Sarah. They have full prio on all lanes, so the Red Guardian's losing a lot of its value right now. There's no Shang-Chi ability risk whatsoever, but you can dump your entire hand.
Everything. Yeah, everything's going down. Do you even bother with the Hazmat? Probably not, right?
Hazmat still has a very good amount of value here as we get a snap back for 8 cubes.
Oh,
in the semifinals,
my goodness.
In the first 2 rounds again. Both players incredibly confident with their hands saying, I've got this. I'm expecting a Luke on Luke. I'm expecting a Luke on Luke. The question is, does Dr. Joint have that Red Guardian to disable potentially Miley's Luke? Because if so, it's over.
Oh my goodness, this is crazy.
Big moment here as they're looking at an 8-cuber in round 2 of the semifinals here at the Snap Grand Prix. Do we see a card flip?
They're just going for it. He's holding off on the end turn. He's really thinking it through to make sure Miley's like, I'm committing to 8 on this. Oh, he hits it.
Here we go. Load the cards up. Sarah over into Stark Tower first. That's going to pop him over to 18 as the beginning winning piece, but watch that number change as Gladiator first pulls out over into Elysium. It's the Red Guardian who was not in their hand. It means it was not in their hand. That disables the US Agent, but that's completely fine because now the Luke Cage flips on over second, reduces down with that Hazmat on the entire far side, and the Man-Things is going to do nothing in Stark Tower. There's their own Luke Cage undoing it all. Here comes the big old Hawk. And look at the tiebreaker start to emerge in between the middle and the right. It is 21-17 in the mid, but only 20-7 in Elysium for Dr. Joint. that is an 8-cube huge defeat, knocking out Dr. Joint as My Lee moves to the finals.
Are you kidding me, guest?
That's
insane.
rounds.
That's so crazy. What did we just witness? What?
We witnessed chaos.
Absolute
Nothing but chaos, but two incredibly qualified, amazing contestants coming on in with Luke Cage on Luke Cage moment. And the fact that it went to a tiebreaker in the left is what I don't think either player was looking at going in that final turn.
No, not at all. I mean, and they committed because they both had good, valid reason to commit. They hedged their bets, they looked at their opponent's outs, and they committed for 8 cubes here. Whoa.
Look, you love to see it and you hate to see it at the same time, because
exactly.
It's such an incredible testament to both players. My Lee and Dr. Joint both are incredibly gifted, clearly, because they've made it here to the top 4. They both are confident in their decks, knowing how the Luke Cages are going to play on out at different times, and they are accustomed to this level of competition. So to see both of them move into round 2 with an 8-cube snap, that is a huge moment, to say the minimum. Huge moment, because it speaks to how clearly confident they both were on, in my opinion, the left-hand lane.
And sometimes in this game, you have to, if you're playing at a high level, you have to be comfortable with taking confident, calculated risks. You've got to have the cojones on you to be willing to play for those 8 cubes. Both of those players clearly had some big ones.
Yeah.
And they followed through. And that was entertainment at its finest. I mean, that's Marvel Snap right there. A tiebreaker for that much, with this much on the line. Whew, 10 out of 10.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane to watch. So we do know now that officially our final is set up. Our setup final is My Lee versus .go. So
we know we're seeing the Loki comeback with the little bit of tech from Quake, with the Red Guardian, the Mockingbird. What's the deck they're going to be playing against? You remember offhand?
Pull back
up. Because Loki has some less good matchups, right? You know, like Loki's not a good matchup into everything. It's an incredibly strong deck right now, and I think a lot of people are seeing that again, and Loki's seeing more play, especially in like the conquest style of game format and on the competitive tournament side. But overall, not every deck list is Loki going to match up well into. There's sometimes where Loki is just a dead card. You got to play with the rest.
Well, Loki loves small cards.
Of course.
Because of that, when you've got .go coming in with a bounce deck, it's a tough matchup. But here's the thing. This bounce deck just took down a Loki deck. So it speaks heavily to, again, what we were talking about in the very beginning of the stream today. Sometimes it's not the deck. Sometimes it's the pilot. And understanding every possible scenario and going into it, that just speaks to why they're in the finals.
And I mean, with a bounce deck too, you are still building a combo in a sense. You're building up an Angela from early. You're building up a Bishop from early. You're basting the correct targets. A Loki on turn 5 into a bounce deck doesn't have the time to do all that setup prep.
Right.
So it can be, it's, you know, I could say Loki still has a good matchup into it, but whether it's like 100% favored, I guess maybe not, you know, especially a Loki on turn 5 instead of turn 4.
Yeah. If you're .go, in my opinion, your entire future rests on Iron Man. Being able to regularly have that Iron Man down on the battlefield on turn 5 is all this deck really is super thriving upon. They're trying to say, I will always be able to double one lane. Because yes, there's a lot of stacking here. Of course, we have Elsa Bloodstone giving lots of stacking. The Hit Monkey going incredibly tall. Angela going incredibly tall. We are going to see that Bast come into being a very valuable card once again. But I don't think anybody expected Bounce to make it not only this far, but yet alone just just do well in any capacity.
Yeah.
So it speaks to .go's strength with this deck versus a very, very strong and confident Loki build that rocks cards like Mockingbird, Baron Zemo, Gladiator, Red Guardian, big point value cards.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many different versions of Bounce, but I think the one that we're about to see is probably my personal favorite 12 cards of Bounce, because like Black Swan can get thrown in there. There's a lot of different options of how you can build a Bounce deck, but this one, every time that I've played it, has just felt the best and the most consistent and gives you the most variety, gives you the most outs. I'm very excited to see this next match. Yeah. Although I feel like Cable is going to be one of the big... Cable and Gladiator are going to be not fun.
Gladiator in particular, I think, is going to be a very difficult card, because if you're looking at these two matchups, you are seeing Gladiator spin into that deck and literally kill every single card. So it is a guaranteed 3-8 every single time without any reservation. So we have a lot to look forward to.
If your Iron Man goes away, if your Elsa goes away, that can all kind of suck.
And that's putting it lightly, my friend. That's putting it lightly. So here's what we are going to do. We are working right now in the background with .go and excuse me, and Miley, making sure everybody's all set up and getting ready for their final. As we get ready for the final, we've taken a look at the two decks. I want to make sure that we give you the proper time to make sure that, people know where to call you Sal, because we know to call you Sal. You've been here, but where do we call you Sal?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. So I stream Monday, Wednesday, Fridays over on Twitch. Now it is /CallMeSal. There's an underscore. It's stupid. Somebody else already claimed CallMeSal. They're not active on Twitch. I want them to just give me the name. So it's CallMeSal _ over on Twitch. It is CallMeSal Games over on Twitter. I think we'll be able to drop a link to my link tree or something in the chat here if people do want to try and find me. I recently started going on the YouTube side as well, so trying to build that up. So if anyone wants to look me up over there, every Tuesday I put out a weekly scouting report. So when the new card comes out, I go out, I scout, I try and find what are the day one lists that people are playing. I think you've been featured in a few of them already, because I like to try and get a variety, like it's a brand new card. There's certain decks where you're like, I know this new card is going to slot in here, but what else can I play it in? And so I try and give about 6-7 different lists, so day one people can start experimenting. But Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I have a TikTok too, but who knows what's happening with that platform right now. But that's basically where you can find me and what I have going on, and then building up Power On Games. So if you guys do want to follow Power On Gaming, there's a lot of cool things coming there too. I'm very excited to be a part of that team and see what we can make.
Lots to look forward to in the Marvel Snap future. Mr. Sal, my friend, thank you so much for being here today, being a part of the Snap Grand Prix semifinals. For all of you hanging out here in Twitch, stick around. We will be getting ready for the finals after a brief break. Stay tuned. We'll see you real soon. Here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the finals. For those who do not know, my name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming, and you may know this pirated man as Tuccrr. Welcome on in, Tuccrr. How you doing, man?
Doing absolutely fantastic, King. It is so great to be here with the GOAT caster of Marvel Snap, ItsGuestGaming over here. This is an amazing scene we got over here, and I'm super excited.
Very, very excited to be broadcasting these finals, because we have a really tough matchup for us to be able to enjoy and cast, because we have a crazy Loki deck going up against a crazy bounce deck, where, as I was just talking about with your buddy Sal, this is very much a pilot on pilot matchup in my opinion. So without picking favorites, who's your favorite?
I honestly, like you guys were talking about earlier, I think the Loki matchup is very scary for Bounce, because like you said, Gladiator literally kills everything. And honestly, I think one of the other cheeky cards in this list, you guys talked about Cable, I think Zemo is actually very cheeky too. Stealing the combo, and that slightly is very like scary.
Yeah, it's a very scary thing, because just seeing all of those cheap cards that could be stolen out here. The Bishop, the Hitmonkey, the Elsa Bloodstone, the Bass. There's a lot that this Loki deck is going to be able to take advantage of, whether it's the Cable disabling via the Red Guardian, the Baron Zemo. But this is not the first Loki deck that we have seen this bounce deck go up against. So this is, like I said, this is pilot on pilot as we get to our finals, where we are having .go versus Miley in a very tight and tough matchup. So I'm going to go ahead and give the A-OK for these players to start if you're ready for some killer Marvel Snap.
Yeah, this can be awesome. I can't wait. .go also has finals experience, so this is going to be interesting with the pressure how Miley takes as well.
Definitely. To quote my friend Default Dan. So let's take a look and think about it like this. As our players are sharing their codes back and forth and getting ready for round number 1 of this matchup. If I had to make a prediction of going into this battle, what would have happened, what could have made it potentially, like, what would have been in the finals? It's been so nice to not see Thanos, just because it's a nice change to the culture where people are really looking to, like, have some fun, competitive Marvel Snap that is not 2 variations on the same thing. We are in a very wide open meta. It's been the topic of the conversation for a little while now. And I think that as we move into this next era of Marvel Snap, that we end up in a exciting area where anything is consistently viable. So I ask you, my friend, are there any cards that you do worry about as being too strong in such a widespread meta?
I think one of my biggest concern cards at the moment might be Professor X. I don't think it's necessarily entirely busted, but like if you look at like higher ladder, like gameplay, like top 100, top 50 and stuff, you're seeing a lot of Professor X usage. And in that sense, you're seeing a lot of just like weird ways people are locking things down, especially with junk being as crazy as it is.
I also we have to broadcast that because of sharing abilities right now to be able to broadcast games, you may notice a different name currently on the screen. It is not Commies who is playing. I just want to make sure we get that articulated properly, because it is not. It is, as we talked about, our .go friend, but it is an easier way for them to be able to broadcast their match so we can have Miley versus .go as we see a white hot room get flipped over next.
This is interesting. Very, oh boy.
That's a lot of destruction. Here comes the Hitmonkey for 4 being disabled by Gladiator and fully annihilated, as Gladiator now also pulls a Mysterio. So there's 4 cards gone. That can't feel good.
I don't like the look of this so far. It was a snap turn 1-2, which is a little crazy. Yeah, this I'm feeling for .go right now.
Absolutely. What else? How do you think that this Sinister London's going to end up really affecting things?
It's really going to be interesting to see who gets their side of the board clogged earlier. Like, does Elsa stay left and go right, or does Elsa fill middle? Because if Elsa fills middle, that's one less spot for .go to be able to get the Elsa buff on. It kind of limits where he can actually get huge for his bishop as well.
True.
Oof. I don't know. It's kind of shaky for both players, but the Gladiator kind of, I don't know, that 8 power is also very scary where he's positioned.
As we get a snap.
Oh boy.
What is with the 8 cubers today, man? What is with this? He's really pressuring him on round number 1.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Who saw this as the final?
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, okay. So let's think this through. They've got the double Mockingbird. They've got the double Gladiator. There's no threat of Shang-Chi coming from the opposite side. It's just semi-big card, pop it all up and have it be no issue. Is that Iron Man on turn 6 going to be enough if they're picking up Nico Minoru, Raptors, Basts. Like, is that gonna be enough?
Yeah, and it's interesting to look at too. Like, does the Nico get picked up, or does the Hood get picked up?
It'll go be a played down order, so it's gonna pick up Raptor, Bast, Hood, Nico.
And then, but one of those cards actually stays because the Hood gets
they
Demons in
quake
hand.
it, which is going to help clog it up. 2 of those Hoods drop on in, and the double Iron Man is gone as a potential play here for .go, as there goes your Nico and your pickup. Now the consistency of it is eliminated. You now have indiscretion, as we have a couple of pickups with a couple of Raptors and the Bast. So, with that indiscrepancy now, not knowing where that Iron Man is going to duplicate, do you continue with this match for 8 cubes and the win?
Well, you do have the extra energy because they did fill White Hot Room.
Right.
So they're putting that into perspective. But, oh, this is really, really tricky. That was a great quake. Great quake. Oh, my word.
They're really looking to put their finals onto round 1 with an 8-cuber, both of them, which is...
Yesterday was so long for them. They want to get through the tournament as quickly as possible.
There is that potential, ladies and gentlemen. This is not Marvel Snap. This is just a big endurance test. All right, so .go. Man. Looking to just put the Iron Man over into there, and Miley backs out. Miley says it's not worth it. I think the Falcon was the big play. As much as it created indiscretion, it created a situation where Miley didn't feel comfortable winning 2 lanes at that point. It almost was over, but don't worry. There's still more Marvel Snap to be played going into round number 2.
Oh, that's actually crazy too, because the Gladiator's hits were absolutely like perfect for Miley too, hitting the Hitmonkey and hitting the Mysterio, and then the Cable stealing the Kitty Pryde, so they didn't get that buff as well. Maybe they're being actually extra precautious.
Early Quinjet always has to feel good as long as it isn't Isle of Silence. All right, it's White Hot Palace. That's fine. White Palace, not Hot Palace. That's the White Hot Room. There could be a hot room in the Hot Palace, but we're not sure if it's white or not. So we're just going to call it the White Palace. As Kitty Pryde bounces back into the hand, and we see the Shang-Chi get exchanged.
Miley does get a 4-cost Iron Man though now with Quinjet. So this is also something that's going to be interesting in this matchup.
Okay, Hood, Kitty, let it all happen. Just let it cue. Okay. And ooh. Quantum Realm. So now the Hood, unfortunately, feels bad to have the first play already down to play it and have to rotate it later. But hopefully, .go also remembers the strength of what Kitty Pryde can do, where she won't get reduced down. She'll only get brought up if you do one of the bounces into the Quantum Realm. So keep an eye on that play coming to light at some point in this match.
Yeah, which is great too, especially if you can get an Elsa down too with that initial burst. So like when you get back into your hand, that's actually 2 on that next turn.
And here comes Baron Zemo to reduce out that Nico Minoru, which is a location change. Clintar doesn't flip it over, and Falcon gets locked into the miniaturized lab with Nico and Zemo, really hurting that bounce deck by locking that location.
Now it really puts into perspective what is Quantum Realm gonna be doing here to affect the rest of this bounce situation like you're talking about. Oh boy.
The flip of the Hood, that's a 5-power swing. That always feels good. The Elsa Bloodstone going down for the fill-up is something to keep an eye on as we get a 5-2 Iron Man into the hand of Miley.
Oh, these finals are not disappointing, and we're only on round 2.
Yeah, round number 2. But watch what's going to happen here, because there's quite a few cards that they can take advantage of that extra +2. Mysterio being the sleeper piece to that, in my opinion, where you can get one of those illusions to flip from a 0 to a 2, and then the unknown on the 4. By putting down the Elsa Bloodstone, this is essentially forecasting that I am looking at a mega turn 6 as my best option, not just doing the Iron Man on 5. We saw Iron Man get pulled over for Miley's side. And now with the second one joining that lane, it does make it an interesting competition. Do you compete in the mid with the Iron Man, or do you try to keep up toe for toe in the Quantum Realm?
I like the play here with potentially Bishop middle to get the pump as well as the Elsa interaction there. The Iron Man lane isn't necessarily a dead lane, I'd say, for Dodgeo, but with Miley over here, a lot of their cards may not necessarily get a huge buff from it. Ooh, that's huge.
Oh man. The Red Guardian taking out all of those future +2s that the Mysterio was going to gift to .Geo has officially been reduced out as she sits there at 1 power now. And now .Geo, who's trying to take 2 cubes out of Miley's hands, has to think, do I have the nuts to try to keep up and probably just spread wide is what it looks like, in my opinion, with this play.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like a wide play. They are playing more passively this round opposed to last round. Both them snapping within the first couple turns.
Yeah.
So it is going to be really interesting without the Elsa buff here. Mysterio still can get the +2, like you said, on Quantum Realm. But where do they follow up with Monkey here? Do they go the Mysterio route, or do they go like a Bishop route here? It's going to be really interesting to see which one gets the better pump.
The Mysterio is definitely going to give the most to the Hit Monkey. And then by really scaling high over the top, with that Hit Monkey being in the Iron Man lane, I think that's how they're looking to try to scale over them. Nico on the board with Quinjet on the board means that Mockingbird is currently sitting at 4, I want to say, when all is said and done, or 3 right now.
3.
Be sitting at 3. Oh yeah, Iron. So we get a snap of going for 4.
Oh, and wow.
And he's looking to compete, it looks like, in the White Hot Palace, because there's your Demon and your 4-power Mysterio. The 2 is going to be enough, and it's a scary enough threat to tell Miley, I'm going to have to back out again, but only for 1 cube this time. Wow.
Wow. Miley's playing very, very passively at this moment, trying not to lose, because I think the weight of it, like the .Geo with his finals experience, knowing he can either, maybe not necessarily bluff snap, but knowing when to snap in this situation, opposed to maybe the inexperience of Miley here, who also made it all the way, don't get me wrong, but finals experience does play an impact here. Ooh, this is crazy.
With Bast in hand and Mysterio in hand, the Wakandan Embassy already puts a +2 on the Mysterio. So you got to figure out when to Bast now if you don't want to lose the buff onto Elsa Bloodstone, the buff onto Falcon, and now you're sitting with a full hand thanks to Hell's Kitchen. Oh boy, we're gonna see a rain of power from both players here.
Yeah, there's going to be a slam happening, and then this is gonna be interesting. Oh no.
Here we go. Destroys that big old Zemo. Goodbye. Thanks for playing. Oh, but he does get the card draw, which does help Loki.
Yeah.
And he's looking to sacrifice the power off of the Falcon to ensure it on all of the Mysterio clones as the Hit Monkey gets pulled, turns to 8, and survives the Gladiator in Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, that's crazy. The flip there. Oh my gosh.
Getting those 3 cards down just saved .Geo's right lane from the strength of Gladiator as we get a snap. Looking at turn 5 here.
Oh, this is... Wow, right under Shang-Chi range too, so Hitmonkey is safe. You can play the Iron Man down there as well to have 16 power. This is a great draw for Dachio here.
What does Cable have to work with? And bounce that monkey back? Woo, that could be fun. That could be fun. With a Mysterio in hand too. He's gone again. Dachio's out snapping Miley, and it's 10-4. Can you hear me, my friends? Wow.
And what's crazy too is like with the Dachio, since he's not playing Loki, he can truly snap when he has his God Hand. Whereas Miley, on the other hand, has to kind of guarantee they also have the combo from either the Hitmonkey lane after a Loki, or they have some crazy interactions. So it's like knowing your list, it's really, really important.
Insanely tough here. Insanely tough. Put in the mid seems to be the regular play for Dachio. He feels most comfortable taking that risk in the mid. An expansion makes this very interesting because it does favor Miley. Normally.
And Attilian's going to be interesting too, because depending on what Geo gets back after turn 3, oof.
Because you can't do the Demon Beast combo to bounce it right back. It'll disappear.
Mm-hmm.
But you could end up with... This is tough. Especially now because cloning Vats is almost a dead location. So just put the hood back into the hand, bounce it, and hope the beast maybe survives for some power. Unless if it's something like a Carnage that'll scale off it.
Or if it's a random Ultron, and then you're really just screwed.
Yeah. It happens. It happens.
It does.
.Geo has the cubes to work with.
Oh. And the next round will be...
Here we go.
Oh, high stakes. Oh, boy.
Ooh, double Zemos are going to happen. It's going to recruit out that Kitty Pride over for Miley, who's going to disappear into the deck due to the Attilan. 8 power for the flip. What does he draw? Bishop, Elsa, Hitmonkey, all the big power players. But what did we get in the X-Mansion? It's just a Yellow Jacket versus a Captain Marvel with some good unpredictability and a quick snap right afterwards.
It's interesting with the Captain Marvel here too, because it maybe .Geo doesn't have to fill a lane now, like you normally do with Slam if you don't get the Elsa. So this, or they have Elsa in hand, never mind. But yeah, this is gonna be really interesting with the 5 power just being able to float around.
That unpredictability is just enough where I think Miley, we might see another retreat here. Because remember, this is round 4. This is the last of the low stakes. Yet simultaneously, they could move forward either way. Because this snap was a beautiful snap. Knowing that they're sitting on 4 cubes in the final one, whether they stay or go at this point, no matter what, you have to make the decision of do you want to try to win 2 games or 1 game from this hand moving forward. Because whether it's accepted and retreated or retreated, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a 2-er via 3 cubes, or it's going to be a 1-er via 2 cubes. As we get the Elsa to flip and get a second one back into the hand, here comes the Gladiator, who's going to pull out that Nico Minoru, giving cards back to the hand afterwards. From the graveyard, she'll be doing so, and Kitty Pride gives a little bit of a boost.
What a turn of events. That 8 power is probably what Miley was looking at as being able to throw down over and over and over again to try and compete. But we're gonna see that Nico spell might actually have a huge factor on this turn 6 play here. In just a second. Ooh.
The Falcons, just really a power play. You're only pulling back a demon. It's not a whole lot of power from there. I think we may end up seeing Iron Man for some confusion drop on down. Oh, man. Because that'd be a pretty clogged hand, but not a lot of 1s to work with. It's only the 1/1 as Hitmonkey turns into a 3/4, goes back to the hand. And Falcon puts that demon also in the hand alongside it because we get the second card, which was from the Nico ability earlier. As Cable mills out something. And Baron Zemo back on the board, pulling Bast.
Ooh.
Now,
Bast was a Gladiator
that
too.
Bast probably really hurt if they were sitting on that Mockingbird. Big Bast play. And now they also pulled their Mysterio. So they are sitting on Hitmonkey Demon Mysterio to scale up. The ability to have Captain Marvel move between mid and right, if they play that out like such, and just scale in the left with the 4 power Mysterio and then the 6+2 Elsa. That's a good stack. It's a good stack in the left. 6 cards in the hand for Miley.
It's a good stack to the left, but Captain Marvel never moves right here. Because that's not enough power to win that right lane. So they have to win middle and left to be able to get their maximum value out of here. Oh my.
Man, I think that Bast really hurt Miley right there. Really hurt. As now, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a tough situation, and we have seen this happen many a time in competitive Marvel Snap. It is a 10-2 moment. .Geo has the lead, but does Miley have the ability to come back 5 games in a row and conquest win this over .Geo?
It's tough because we have not seen a Loki play yet either. Not a single
No.
Loki in these past 4
No
games.
Loki draw, no.
Yeah, so this could be interesting.
Nice hand for the Bass to hit. No Mysterio, which is Mysterio or Iron Man, but even still, the Bishop getting a head start, the Angela getting a head start, that has to feel good too.
Third location here isn't really anything crazy either because neither player is running 6 drops.
Correct.
So we'll see what Westview actually does here too, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a dead location for both players, unless if Westview all of a sudden switches to like Great Portal or something crazy. Because we've seen it.
Ooh.
Oh, that Hit Monkey is just smiled real big with the Dark Dimension.
Oh, man. Just setup time.
Yeah. It's just rank and set. Just rank and set as the Falcon drops on down, puts the Bast back into the hand with Mysterio in hand.
Oh, my gosh.
So, I mean, we're going to see another double up of those Mysterios to drop on the final turn is what it's looking like, with a location change from Nico as a viable option, considering that they've already hidden a card behind Dark Dimension.
And that's got to be something like a Snow Guard down in Dark Dimension.
I'm
I would
shocked
say.
they're not basting. Okay. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. You have the cards. Dachio, you're in the finals. You know what to do.
Do you change Titan here to maybe get a better location for your turn 6 play?
Depending on what it is, it's better or worse. I mean, that's just the RNG of the situation, but you kind of have to do it. And if anything, the safest location flip would only be the Dark Dimension, as Loki finally makes its first appearance in this matchup with Quinjet on the board. We're going to see a lot of cards get turned over in the final turn. I'll start hydrating now. Oh, man. Okay. Remember, those are all 3 Mysterios. All 3s as Mysterios. Everything's reduced by 2. That just got flipped over. There's 6 cards in Miley's hand. This could be a full board for Miley if they pulled the Mysterio, for example.
And then Hitmonkey also gets this +2 power if he played it the way he did there.
It's the timing, yeah, to rank up in the mid. Here we go. Does this keep Miley alive? Let's find out. The first Hitmonkey drops on down into the aisle. 1, 2. Iron Man flips over into Titan. That was a 3-cost Iron Man scaling Titan as we have a location movable. Nothing's going to move on Nico because we're flipping over Mysterio 1, Mysterio 2. We're going to hold on to the third one as Elsa Bloodstone then reinforces the Nico Minoru, who's adding the plus power to the first revealed card in Dark Dimension. Here comes the Snow Guard, who gets stuck under there, cannot move via the Nico Minoru, and the Mysterio possibly on the flip. Here comes the Hitmonkey, revealing afterwards with 16 power. And it looks like as we get 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not enough to keep up with that big Hitmonkey on the left. And like that, we move on. All right. We're not over.
We got ourselves a finals. We got ourselves a freaking finals.
That's
Let's go.
The first one. 1 down, 4 to go for Miley. Big Hitmonkey pull on that Loki, man. Big Hitmonkey pull.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. We had not seen the Loki play just yet, but when you get the Loki, you can go crazy.
Yeah. And guessed right. Literally guessed right on here. Let me compete over on the left. Lechugia hits us as number 1. And how detrimental is the Rock from turn 3 here?
It's a little interesting. If we have Elsa in hand, it's maybe a little less detrimental because there's another card that you can pump. But it's a little, I don't know. Board space is such a thing in both honestly sides, because even with a Loki, you need the board space to be able to maximize your bounce from the stolen. Oh my word, from the stolen cards.
Wakandan Embassy is back to make a splash. Now, Nico here doesn't really have a good destroy option, but you're also sitting on 6 cards in the hand. Here comes the Gladiator, who's going to destroy a Bast and undoes the Wakandan and Embassy's buffs. Oh, man. That 1/8 demon just shrunk to 1/5, but Iron Man went up to 5/3. So it's like, take the good with the bad.
Yeah, this is... You still just play the demon out here, but maybe with an Elsa play a little bit later to get him closer to the 1/6.
Where's Falcon? Where's Beast? They're stuck in the deck. And you can't even play into Lechugia because you're risking the chances of not pulling them. .Geo's in a really sticky situation right now with that insane play of the Bast. Pull of the Bast.
Yeah, and we don't know what Cable got to. If Cable got your Beast, you can potentially go ahead and Gladiator and Cable again on turn 5. Or Cable with Loki on turn 5 and truly offset .Geo here.
Yeah. Giving up on any potential hope there to pull out that that Beast. As Loki drops on 4. Loki loves this deck right now. There's no Quinjet down. As we get a location turn into the Gamma Lab, which will be a dead location because it's turn 4.
1 turn too late.
Yeah. There's the Falcon, who doesn't get affected. Oh, the hood flip is nice here for Falcon.
I think you have 6 Loki cards here, though, with Cable and Snowguard for Miley on this turn. So this is going to be also crazy.
The Iron Man definitely feels good. However, that hood on the right does not. Because if you try to pick up the hood, you're also picking up that Nico. So it's kind of a dead situation on the right if you Iron Man mid. Isn't it? It looks like a forfeit lane.
Yeah, you just play middle and left here. Because also with the Falcon, you pick up a rock and you kind of just not clog yourself. You still got one more draw, but like... I think, you're just playing for the Gladiator here, trying to offset that. Oh, boy.
Here we go. Angela, Nico Minoru. Angela gets its first pump. Here comes the Hit Monkey, who's going to flip to 3/8 and put back another into the hand. The spells of Nico Minoru paying off, and they clear the board with their own Falcon as Angela goes up another 2. Iron Man drops into the mid for an 18 to now 20 mid lane location. How does .Geo keep up against that Hitmonkey lane?
They have to pray that Hitmonkey doesn't go left again, and because Bishop lane should be pretty solid. Granted, that's another 8-powered Hitmonkey that they're dropping that they could win middle and win right. If they just play middle right here, it's really good for Miley opposed to .Geo. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Not contesting middle anymore, relying just on the Bishop pump here. This is a little scary.
Be able to compete in that left, they have to commit everything like that. But by playing out the Falcon to reduce down the hood damage, it's just slightly more power than the Kitty Pryde. Here they go. Bishop drops in. The Hitmonkey competes again over on the left-hand side, helping to secure the left-hand side. They forecasted the sacrifice of the right, and the Mockingbird for extra salt into the wound goes down. 35 is going to be a number that .Geo cannot beat in the left. That is going to end up being another 2 cubes for Miley to hold on to. It's going to 6-2 when all is said and done here. Whew.
That top deck of Mockingbird is crazy.
Extra salt right there, man.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, this
extra salt.
It puts into perspective, like we were saying earlier, like getting the Loki in this situation is so vital, which is what Miley didn't have for the first 4 rounds, and we're seeing how it pays dividends. It's crazy. Ooh.
That feels very good. Having the demon flip. Clogging Asteroid M is probably on the agenda right now. And getting that hood to pop in from -2 to now +3 Disappear, draw. Quake shifts over the Vormir, so they still have to now clear out Vormir with not a lot to work with. Ooh, Strange Academy makes it a lot more fun. We could be looking at a Falcon bouncing the Nico back and using Nico as the Vormir sacrifice too.
Mm-hmm. I could totally see that. And then getting the extra demon here. Oh man, if we get a bishop or we get a hit monkey, this is looking really, really good for Geo.
Well, let's see what Gladiator destroys first. It's gonna kill the hit monkey.
Oh no!
Hit monkey's down. It's a race to Iron Man hell.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know if I like destroying Falcon here, but at the same time, I understand not having it be played into the left.
I was thinking maybe we're destroying Falcon here in that situation so that we can beast the Nico and everything back on the following turn to play on 6, but I like this as well.
Potentially, here we go. You've got your shimmy available to you now with the demon. Snow Guard comes down, destroys itself into Vormir. As they flip over, Baron Zemo, who's going to recruit over to their side of the battlefield, the Kitty Pride. Baron Zemo gets dragged into the Asteroid M. And now turn 5 has Vormir cleared for Miley. Not for .geo.
Oh boy. There we go. The free demons here and the hood.
Wow.
If you do get a bishop, you're looking good, but...
And this copies another demon also into the hand with Nico's ability. That's a lot of demons. That's a lot of demons. Like, that's like therapy level. Here we go. Flips over the Kitty Pride into Asteroid M. Loki goes down into Vormir to cheapen everything off for the final turn. Nothing's going to move on Miley's side. Nico disappears down into Vormir. Show me another demon, ladies and gentlemen. Flip it over into the Strange Academy. There goes one into the hand. Here comes a hood with another demon into the hand. And now Beast is going to bring down all of those other demons. Demon number 1, demon number 2. Show me a hood. Those are all free. On top of it, with Iron Man at 5-3, this might be a comeback for .geo to hold on even without Hitmonkey.
Yeah, this is just an Iron Man we trust kind of situation over here, and it looks a little, maybe more than a little, it looks very scary over here for all the hellgoers.
The question is, which lane do you use as your most competitive lane for Iron Man? You know only one card can play into Asteroid M. We do know that the tallest card they typically would end up being either their own Iron Man, which if dropped into Asteroid M would just decimate that lane away from .geo. But how else would you win the rest of the board? So as good as it feels, I don't think it can be won any other way outside of pretty much what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. And Iron Man does win middle for Miley, but if they also have Hitmonkey and the 1-drops that cost 0 now after the Loki interaction, it's going to be really interesting to see how the slam works. If they play anything left, they are pretty much guaranteed to win here as well.
Yeah, the full left sacrifice always is a little precarious, but you've got to feel confident when you're also dropping 18 power into the right on top of everything. So they're going to 20, which means Vormir has to have 15 or more to compete on that lane. Asteroid M's going to get doubled, plus then some because of Angela, plus the extra 3 on the Iron Man. That's a really tall, stacked Asteroid M. This is for Miley's line, and they both only commit to the middle and to the left. It's double Iron Manning. Iron Man and Asteroid M brings it to 32. There goes the Bast. There goes the Nico. There goes the Jeff. It's a tiebreaker for the win. Let's find out. Iron Man drops on down for 3 power on top of the Angela, giving her another 2. There's the hood only for 3. Doubles up in that lane. It's gonna go to 34, and they steal it. by committing mid and right. Congratulations to .go, ladies and gentlemen, the Snap Grand Prix champion.
Good job, Gio. Holy smokes. Wow.
Both players sacrificing the left, saying, we're going to make this a 2-lane game if I'm going to go in on this at all. And he had the Iron Man.
He did have the Iron Man. Oh my God.
He had
That's crazy.
The Iron Man. And because of the Bast that was pulled out and dropped, that 3 extra power on Iron Man is what put over that middle lane for .go. That was the key to victory in that round.
And that's knowing your deck, being able to math that quickly to see how big your Angela would get after playing everything, because you could have put a demon there instead of the hood just to see if you want to capitalize on that power. But knowing that putting 18 on the right is more difficult to kind of have to compete with, knowing that they may just get your Iron Man, that was absolutely fantastic piloting there, like you were saying beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely insane, to say the minimum. So kudos to .go. Congratulations on winning the inaugural Snap Grand Prix. And once again, for our viewers, here is that deck. It's the ultimate bounce deck of Marvel Snap right now. The Hood, Bast, Kitty Pryde, Nico Minoru, Angela, Beast, Falcon, Mysterio, Bishop, Hitmonkey, Elsa Bloodstone, and the OG himself, Iron Man. What an absolutely fantastic showing, and showing that even a deck that should lose to Loki doesn't have to when you really know it as well as this amazing performance by .go showed us.
Yeah, heart of the cards, man. And like we were talking about, like it put into perspective when you don't have Loki, how difficult it is for you to be able to like pilot against this matchup because of how horizontal it goes. And it was better to see, like, when Loki even is drawn, you have to capitalize on where you know to play stuff. And he played it really well. A 50-50 kind of, but hey, we will take those.
Yeah, look, if Two-Face can, so can we, but that's a different enterprise. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for being with us on this incredible showcase here at the Snap Grand Prix. Tuccrr, why don't you tell the kind people more about you and where they can find you in this magical world we call Marvel Snap content?
Well, the name is Tuccrr on all platforms, spelled this way. The real way you spell my name was taken, by the way. But you can find me on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter, X, however you'd like to call it, under the name Tuccrr, Tuccrr. We are now a full-time content creator, out here doing things. My stream schedule is trying to get still in a better habit of like when to actually post that. But you know, it's fun, and this community is absolutely amazing, and I'm really grateful for you guys, especially really grateful to have been able to cast this with you guests. It's always a pleasure, and I love watching you cast things, no matter what type of tournament or showcase or league thing that's going on. You do an absolutely fantastic time. You bring the energy, you bring the coffee, you bring the vibes. Thank you very much for having me.
The coffee and the vibes are what get me through every day of Marvel Snap, good sir. So you're 100% right there. Thank you so much, Tuccrr, for being here and being a part of this inaugural event. As we have always done in the past for these types of events, I do want to, of course, say big kudos. Thank you so much to Pursuit Gaming for concentrating this idea into fruition alongside the Snap Judgements League and making something unique and fun that the community can enjoy. Kudos to them. Kudos to Primed Mind for bringing this prize pool up to its massive $1,000 that will be distributed amongst our winners, including our grand champion today, .go, the winner of the Snap Grand Prix. Thank you all so much for being a part of this broadcast of the top 16, the top 8, the top 4, the top 2, and now the top deck in this matchup with .go's amazing bounce deck. Thank you so much for being a part of this, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday or Monday, depending where you are. We appreciate all of the support here on the channel. For those who do not know, my name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming. I am a full-time content creator for Marvel Snap, caster, do all of the above 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, typically on the mornings. But for a special event like this, I'll make an appearance on a Sunday. I appreciate y'all being here with me, and Tuccrr and the entire Pursuit Gaming crew who came on into cast. Kudos once again. Thank you so much to Parry Manilow, to Ninja Panda, to PulseGlazer, to CallMeSal coming on in and casting with us. Y'all be good. We will see you all, well, on our own respective streams next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.